podcast studio, or the only person that can hear you is maybe Peter and Pablo before you go live. One new comment. Oh, okay.
With Mucinex All-in-One, you've got unbeatable relief from your worst cold and
I have NBC Nightly News on my TV, but it's muted. My second phone just turned on. What time is it? 5:36?
This is CNN.
I missed the first 3.5 hours because I was sleeping. Because I no longer sleep at night due to the anxiety from the pandemic. Hello to the viewer. Or maybe the two viewers, unless one of the viewers is me.
With all the attention today focused on those videos played before the Senate, there's breaking news tonight in the death of Capitol Hill police officer Brian Sicknick. Investigators are pointing to leads they've uncovered with the help of some new video. CNN's Evan Perez joins us now with details. So what does the video federal authorities have uncovered now show?
Well, Anderson, what this video does is it narrows the number of suspects that they believe they can focus on. That's down to just a handful of suspects, and that's tremendous progress, actually, because we know that the investigators have been struggling to build a federal murder case in this investigation.
Let's check Discover.
There has been just very little to go on. And, there's so much video that you've seen, obviously, but trying to see the moment that something happened to Officer Sicknick, which could then be used as the cause of death, used in a murder investigation, that's a lot. And so we heard today from
Pablo's live.
Some of that harrowing video
and
audio
Pablo was
heard
live.
in the impeachment trial. You hear some of the audio from officers saying that they were getting sprayed with bear spray. That is one of the theories, or the leading theory, that investigators are working on right now, Anderson. They believe that Officer Sicknick was perhaps sprayed with an irritant, perhaps bear spray, and that then caused him to collapse later on at his office. He was rushed to the hospital and he died the following day. Again, this is still a very difficult, a very complex case, but this represents some real progress. They believe that this video shows a limited number of suspects that they can work with. And again, this remains a top priority for investigators trying to figure out who could be charged in this murder.
So he actually collapsed later on after he was at his office. Do we know more about that?
Right. So he's attacked at the Capitol. He goes back to his office, and that's when he is overcome by something and collapses, and then he's rushed to the hospital, and he dies the following day. So that's the timeline that investigators are working on. Again, if there was anything indicating, anything that shows the attack, by now they would have charged somebody. So that's been part of the difficulty for investigators. If you remember, Anderson, early on there were some stories and reports that they thought perhaps he was hit over the head with a fire extinguisher. Right. That is not true. Investigators have determined that is not so. And so again, that's what's so difficult about this case. Again,
what's not so
for investigators, and they believe that they're going to figure it out, and they're going to be able to bring charges.
Hold on, Evan, because I just want to play the audio you were referencing, where you hear the police officer, a police officer, talking about the bear spray. Let's play that.
Right.
Cruiser 50 and County were still taking rocks, bottles, and pieces of flags and metal poles. Cruiser 50, the crowd is using munitions against us. They have bear spray in the crowd. Bear spray in the crowd. DSO, I need a re-up up here. Cruiser 50, we lost the line. LAPD, pull back. LAPD, pull back up to the upper deck. LAPD, pull back to the upper deck. ASAP. LAPD, come back to the upper deck. Upper deck. Cruiser 50 has tanked. 1033. I repeat, 1033. West part of the Capitol. We've been tanked and we've lost the line.
Lost the line. So the new video, do you know where it came from? And is there a lot of video that hasn't been gone through, or is it just taking time to really analyzing all the video they have?
Yeah, I think that's the case. I think there's a lot of video, and I think one of the things that happens, there's hours of video by this point that the investigators have been going through, Anderson. And what happens is sometimes you go back over things and you see things that you perhaps did not see before, placed in the context of additional information. And so that's my understanding of what has happened here. And if you listen to some of that video, what I'm told happened, again, for people who were there, was that the attackers had better equipment. In some cases they had better sprays, like the officers, obviously they have pepper spray and things that they can try to control a crowd. Some of these people came with what people describe as industrial strength pepper spray and bear spray, things that sprayed longer distance so they could launch from a farther distance at these officers. That's what they were dealing with, in addition to the hand-to-hand combat that you've heard about.
Well, it's also interesting,
what is your email?
Insurrectionist who had his feet up on the desk in Nancy Pelosi's office, and I hadn't realized before until it was pointed out today that he actually had what authorities say was a very strong taser, which is obviously something we saw a lot of with people there.
Whoa,
Evan Perez appreciated what the Senate saw and heard today.
Okay, I'm trying to say thanks to Pablo.
The officers who defended the Capitol bravely. We played this video at the top of the program, and its brutality is both remarkable and horrific to watch. Thankfully, the officer involved is recovered and is well. Here's another look at the security video showing Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman leading Senator Mitt Romney, indicating he should get to safety, going the other direction he was heading in. Romney said tonight he had no idea he was that close to the rioters. He didn't know it was Officer Goodman until he saw the video, and he wanted to thank him. Before this evening's session, Romney was seen talking with Goodman. With me now to talk about the searing images that we saw today of the sacrifices law enforcement made on January 6th. Charles Ramsey, former chief of the Washington, D.C. Police and a CNN law enforcement analyst, and Andrew McCabe, former deputy director of the FBI and a CNN contributor. Andrew, with everything laid out like it was today, video of Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman warning Romney to turn back as he was heading toward a group of rioters, officers using their bodies to barricade doors so rioters couldn't break through. How much worse could that day have been if it wasn't for the actions of those law enforcement officers? Some of them, all alone standing up to crowds.
Anderson, there's no bottom how bad that day could have gotten. And there's absolutely no question that kind of spiral towards violence and, who knows, death and destruction was stopped by the heroic actions of those folks, those men and women, the officers from Capitol Police and from MPD who were on the scene that day. We've had a lot of questions about how did law enforcement handle intelligence prior to the attack, and were the proper precautions put in place? And those are good questions that we need to have answered. But let's put that aside for a minute and honor the men and women who saved the lives of those lawmakers and in several cases their family members by simply throwing themselves into the fire. It was a remarkable thing to watch and really harrowing.
Chief Ramsey, we're reporting that President Trump's legal team plans to, or is considering, or talking about, to argue that Democrats glorified violence today by showing all the videos sort of in a chronological order and essentially, recreating minute by minute as much as possible the attack on the Capitol. Is that what you saw today? Glorification of violence?
No, it was just simply showing what took place. It's not glorifying violence at all. That violence actually occurred at the United States Capitol, and there's no ignoring it. I couldn't agree anymore with Andrew and his comments around the heroism of the men and women of the Capitol Police, the Metropolitan Police. I mean, when they
that's because I only have audio on right now. Who is that? I'll check Facebook and see.
Both video from inside the
Capitol,
which I had not seen before, as well as video from outside the Capitol. Over an extended period of time, you can see what they were up against, and it's absolutely remarkable. I've been in policing a long time. I was in the active service for 47 years. I started, the Vietnam War was taking place when I started, and you had protests associated with the Vietnam War, which got pretty bad at times. This rivals anything that I have seen in my career, and my hat is off to the men and women of both those departments that fought valiantly to try to protect those inside the Capitol. And had they not done that, I hate to say it, but I do believe we may have lost some of our elected leaders that day because some in that crowd really had some very violent intentions, apparently.
Andrew, the scene we're looking at right now of them trying to get in one entrance to the Capitol, one of the law enforcement officers earlier in the day in the video was quoted, one of the law enforcement officers
trying to see this
into that crowd had items taken off his person. They were trying to get his gun as well. He described it almost like a siege or a battle from the Middle Ages, and just from this vantage point and from that police officer's body cam footage, it really is this archaic almost battle between these crowds in close quarters, and it goes on for hours.
For hours, Anderson. Can you imagine the terror of being dragged into that crowd, losing your defensive weapons, and just thinking like, am I gonna live to see the other end of this thing? I mean, it's just it was terrifying to watch on television. I can't imagine what it was like for those folks to go through it. And they got up, they stood back in the line, and they took that beating and did their jobs for hours and hours and hours. And I thought the presentation
I'm checking the comments.
Was a glorification of that.
Okay.
The presentation was the hard work of a trial. When it comes time to hold people accountable in this country, we go into court and we present the evidence. We present the truth. And that's what they did today. It may have been a hard truth for the Republicans to watch, but it's probably a good one for them to see.
Yeah, we should feel a sense of shame about what happened. Certainly, those who were responsible should as well, and should see what happened. Charles Ramsey, Andrew McCabe, thank you very much. Just to add more on the case, the House.
I'm going to check Facebook and see who's commenting.
And the historical importance of the evidence they put into the record. Legendary newsman Dan Rather joins us when we return.
Somebody liked my broadcast. Thank you. It wasn't me.
My digital show Full Circle is back. You can watch
but I could like it and make the number of likes go to 2. Watch this.
Time or anytime on
Let's see if I'm on the.
Never miss a show. You can get alerts on every episode via the CNN app. I'll see you then.
All right, I'm looking.
At CNN, we see the devastation caused by natural disasters.
How do I guess I can't like my own broadcast on here because I'm on the computer, not on my phone. Wait, I can comment, but I can't like it? Let me look on here.
Share stories or donate by just clicking the button.
Let me go back one.
Impact your world.
I'm Erin, and I'm Margo. We've always done things.
I can like it here.
Our own paths. I wasn't going to just
watch. I'll give it a heart. Now I have a like and a heart. If I click on it, will the number change to 15? Probably not, since it's me.
I asked about Umbro.
It still says 14. Help us moderate. It looks okay. Hello from Portland. Whoa. All right, I'll mute that. Sorry, guys. And I don't mean to be yelling. All right, let me see. I'm going to open Facebook to see who's commenting. I have it attached to Twitch today. I never figured out how, but they added the Twitch where you didn't have to find the RTMP. Let's log into Facebook and see who's commenting, because it just says Facebook user.
Eligible patients may pay as little as $5 per month.
Hi, I'm a new customer and I want your best
new
smartphone
deal.
Well, I'm an
To the
existing
country.
customer and
Right.
I'd like your best new smartphone deal. Oh, do you?
Actually, it's for both new and existing customers.
I feel silly, but I do want the fastest 5G network. Well, I want the fastest 5G network.
All right, let's give him a care since he has to have surgery today. And let's see who's commenting on my feed.
Like the Samsung Galaxy S21 5G for free when you trade in.
And I know that I don't have my video on, but maybe Wolf and Bear want to come on and say hello. So let me see if I can CNN Go, because my phone's not working right on Wi-Fi. See, if I turn on the Wi-Fi, it's on the Wi-Fi, okay, but it's still on CNN Go. All right, let me see. It says, listen with me, impeachment trial, be respectful. As in, if you come in my broadcast and say Trump 2024, like someone did yesterday, you're getting blocked with no warning.
The case brought brought by House
It's
impeachment
hi,
managers
Monique.
today is important not only to the trial of the former president, but how history will judge him as well. In the words of one impeachment manager, the goal was to prove that the mob was, quote, summoned, assembled, and incited by the former president of the United States. Joined now by legendary newsman Dan Rather, who's seen more than his share of historic moments, is now host of The Big Interview on Access TV. He's also the co-author of What Unites Us, Reflections on Patriotism, now has a newsletter available on Substack called Steady. Dan,
there's extra live coverage on CNN tonight.
To the trial so far?
Well, thank you, Anderson. Always good to be with you. There's a mixture of
Dan
being
Rather?
mad, being angry, at the same time being sad that our country has to go through this. But, we now see clearly the evidence is overwhelming. There's absolute clarity. This was an armed insurrection that happened at the Capitol on January 6th.
With a huge knot in my hair. I'm
It was
trying
much
to
more
unknot it.
serious, much more violent than we realized at the time, and we thought
I don't
at the
even know
time
how that
it was very
happened.
violent. And sad to say, it was incited by the President of the United States. Now, it is true that the defense attorneys will begin presenting their case very soon.
Did I reply to myself? Is that why it's in my inbox?
It's our rush to judge to say this evidence is so overwhelming that we have to move to the question of where is the conscience of the Republican senators? I recognize that most people think there's no chance at all they're going to convict President Trump, and that may turn out to be the case. But this is a classic profile and courage opportunity.
Yeah, let's see who has courage and who's a chicken shit coward.
They know every single
with no integrity.
this is not the America we
and then they're going to turn around and say they're born again Christians and they won't have any integrity to vote to convict.
It will be the America that
that's hypocrisy.
And so it's a critical time. Anderson, with God's grace, I've been around for a long time. And never have I been quite as worried about the country as I am now. I'm an optimist. I think we'll get through this, particularly if we can hold steady and make right decisions. But in the two occasions before we were worried about the country, at the very start of World War II, when it looked like the Nazis and the Japanese were going to be conquerors, and then immediately in the wake of 9/11. But those threats were external threats, that they brought our country to a crisis point from the outside. This we're doing to ourselves. So the evidence is clear. We have the proof. We have the clarity. What we need now is the reckoning and the accountability. And we need a justice that will ring forward generations. We're far ahead of us. That this cannot stand. This is not the country we want to become. Once that, then we can start on trying to reunite ourselves again. But efforts at unification are not going to go very far unless we bring this around to the conclusion that at least we decide, whatever we decide with President Trump, that we decide this cannot stand. We cannot let this continue. We cannot have it happen again.
I'm haunted by, the voice we heard, the police officer calling for reinforcements and telling his fellow officers to fall back, and he repeated, "We lost the line. We lost the line." That's something you hear. You think about Vietnam and a foreign enemy getting inside through American lines and inside.
Yeah, it's a military term.
This wasn't a foreign enemy. This was American police officers. It was American people who call themselves patriots and call themselves, believers in law and order and supporters of the police.
Attacking
police.
Well stated. It is true that line is a haunting line. They're inside the line. Anybody who's been in the military or in the law enforcement will recognize how haunting that line can be. But here's the thing.
I'm still trying to get this knot out of my hair.
A version of this happened in Michigan, if you recall.
And they let they didn't stop the Proud Boys in Portland. That's how you get something like that.
It'll happen again if we don't stop it now.
And the president praised what happened in Michigan at the time. He tweeted about, the people who went in with long guns were screaming at police officers, screaming at lawmakers in Michigan, and he was praising them for what they did.
Well, there you are. That's why I say we have clarity. We have proof.
I have to go see who's breaking into cars.
What happened on January 6th.
You tweeted that this is the trial that Republicans truly fear.
I guess I do.
How so? Because from the rhetoric, many of the Republican
Jesus.
senators so far are clearly
Sorry,
just worried
guys.
about, getting elected again and worried about Trump's hold on the party. They don't sound that concerned.
No, their fear was that more and more Americans were going to see actually what happened, and it was going to be embedded in the public's mind. That was their fear. Now they have even more to fear because of the people who watch this. There can't be any doubt. I agree with you. Their greatest fear now is their own personal political future. They're not putting country first. They're putting their party first.
And their job.
Political futures first. But history will judge them very, very badly.
Yeah. Do you think, and also, when you see the loyalty that Mike Pence had to this president, I don't know, and how the president just tossed him aside, was tweeting about him, against him while he was under threat. I don't understand with the loyalty that some of these Republicans have to the former president, because he will turn on them on a dime. He's already insulted many of them or their wives in the past.
Anderson, you put your finger on one of the great mysteries to me. I don't know how any Republican who's saying loyal to President Trump could do so in light of what President Trump has done with Vice President Pence, for exactly the reasons you say. The way the president has treated Pence, given how loyal Pence has been, is absolutely, it's beyond my understanding, and it's certainly not something to be admired, to say the least.
Dan Rather, I appreciate your time. It's great to see you again. You take care.
Thank you, Anderson.
As you heard Dan say, one of the big questions now is what Republicans will do next. Just ahead, late reaction tonight from one of the former president's biggest defenders in the Senate when we return.
I lost my brush.
See, I told you.
And I have another brush.
I'm very chill about it.
Where is the other brush? So I'm still trying to get this knot out of my hair.
I hear it's the second easiest thing to get into.
Hello to the 17 viewers.
The Capitol building. More of this. There are no adults here. And more of this.
And Bruce Springsteen was arrested for drunk driving, but he was apparently cooperative with the police and has a hearing date set.
Buckle up for the wildest show in 90-day history, exclusively on Discovery Plus.
I think they said he was arrested in Sandy Hook. Is Sandy Hook in Long Island?
After watching 90 Day Fiancé,
do you regret meeting me? Ooh, that's a loaded
I
question.
saw it on the TV that he muted, and I'm still, like I said, trying to get this knot out of my hair.
good. Why did she go back to Russia?
90 Day Figures All. Stream what you love for just $4.99.
Hello to the Twitch viewers. First day on Haps. At least first day on my Haps. Because I didn't know how to connect it before.
Now you're in space. Learn with the smart advanced.
Hello to the YouTube viewers.
Now at varsitytutors.com.
Unless YouTube blocks it because of the CNN audio. Hello to the Facebook viewers. Hello to the Facebook fan page viewers. Hello to the Twitter viewers on both of my Twitter accounts. Who am I missing? Hello, I said hello to the Haps users.
Late reaction tonight to the second day of proceedings from one of the former president's top defenders, Senator Lindsey Graham, indicated he was underwhelmed by the case the House impeachment managers presented, saying, quote, "I think there's more votes for acquittal after today than there was yesterday."
Go away, Lindsey.
If that's true or not, he said, connecting Trump to the far-right group the Proud Boys was, quote, "absurd." Video played by the House impeachment manager showed a rioter and member of the group calling the former vice president, quote, "total treasonous pig." Graham also called the House case hypocritical. His exact words, "hypocrisy is pretty large for these people." His reason, he said, is that rioters also once came to his house. Also, the house of the fellow Republican Senator Susan Collins. No word that they actually rioted in the house, but I guess he said people came to outside the house. He seemed to indicate somehow that exonerates the president. When asked if he thought that was the direction the former president's defense should take, he said, "Oh, yeah." He then said that if he were on the former president's defense team, the House impeachment managers would be in serious trouble. Quote, "I'd eat them alive."
Why don't you vote Lindsey Graham out of office?
Lindsey Graham. Another historic day on Capitol Hill. Quick programming note, we'll be back live at 11 p.m.
Which
Eastern
Starbucks windows up?
Edition 360.
Got broken, and when was that?
Chris, Cuomo Primetime. Chris?
All right, Coop, thank you very much. I am Chris Cuomo, and welcome to Primetime. Predictable and foreseeable. That's what House managers argue January 6th.
Hello, even I knew there was going to be violence on January 6th.
Of a near massacre. Way worse than we knew. They showed clearly what should
and
now
watch out from
be obvious.
March 4th
Trump
now.
Baited anger with lies about the election for a long time. He brought people on January 6th by design to a rally premised on a lie that the election was stolen. Once there, he stirred up that same crowd with inflammatory talk about how to fight back at the Capitol. And then they did that and only that. That was the case today. Jurors were shown what you're watching now. New surveillance from the outside and inside as the mob broke through the windows and doors. And for the first time, we saw footage of Vice President Pence himself
and his family
being escorted out of the Senate chamber, being moved down the stairs to a safer spot. As he was being evacuated, rioters were heard looking for him to hang him. They erected a gallows outside. Listen to this.
Stupid people.
Now, why are they echoing that? We heard Trump throw Pence under the bus. We heard those looking for Pence say they were following up on Trump's orders. One even read Trump's tweet over a bullhorn. I want you to hear this again.
The whole tweet.
Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution.
You see the tweet? Mike Pence didn't have the courage, blah, 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 from Trump. You heard it being echoed at the point of the insurrection as they were looking for Mike Pence.
I'm still trying to get this knot out of my hair.
Clear.
Wow.
Can a situation be? However, even more damning, once Trump knew what the insurrectionists were doing at the Capitol,
he didn't care.
He denied or ignored requests for help. While he knew Congress was being hunted, he did nothing to stop the attack for hours.
Because he only cares about himself.
The only thing Trump did, which shows his awareness of the situation, was when he heard about the insurrection and was aware, he decided to play it to advantage, making phone calls, asking for help to slow the certification process. So a more visceral take on the case presented today is this. Trump sent the mob to the Capitol, angry, looking for you. Then he left you in Congress, you Senate jurors, for dead. That is the case that was made today, and it was painfully obvious. You remember the maniac who broke into Pelosi's office and kicked his feet up on one of the desks? Richard Barnett? What we didn't know, he was carrying a stun gun tucked into his waistband, and he was looking for Pelosi. What do you think he would have done to her? And is that what it would have taken for these senators to see this as more than a political opportunity? The mob could have also killed Mitt Romney, it turns out, who only narrowly escaped. Remember Officer Goodman, who single-handedly diverted the mob from the Senate chamber? He also likely saved Romney, who was rushing the wrong way, and Goodman turned him away from the rioters. They were running for their lives, seen in this video released by impeachment managers today. Now, tonight we must do what's not being done in the media. The reporting is all about why they should convict, and that makes sense. But we should now reverse the action analysis, okay? What if these senators do choose to acquit? What will that mean?
It means they need to be voted out.
It will mean that they are inviting more of this violence. They will necessarily be seen as validating that violence, even glorifying that violence if they vote to acquit. Why? Because Trump will take it as a victory. So will the Proud Boys and other extremists and racists and lie-fed mobs. If you acquit After what you were shown today at trial on day 2, it would be a giant middle finger to the men and women who saved you that day. We saw today more than ever how they were fighting for your and their lives. They were beaten, maimed. They died for you. And you will be saying, with your vote,
that they don't care.
Doesn't matter enough for you to risk political clout with the people who attacked them. One leading theory tonight that investigators are considering in the death of Capitol Police Officer Sicknick is that suspects sprayed an irritant, maybe bear spray, leading to a fatal reaction. In police audio that we haven't heard before, it was played at the trial today, officers are heard screaming. They are scared. They are overwhelmed, and they are dealing with even more than angry words and fists. Listen to this.
1033, RT 1033, West Florida Capitol. We've been paid till we lost the line.
We've lost the line, he says. I have more of this sound for you. I'm going to play it later in the show, and we'll analyze it. But you have to know that even the people who believe in Trump enough to try to kill police and members of Congress for him, they said they went to the Capitol at his urging. Listen.
I thought I was following my president. I thought I was following what we were called to do. President Trump requested that we be in D.C. on the 6th.
That's right, he did.
Now, we have more tonight from a member of one of the most dangerous extremist groups in the country. Why he says he acted that day. So, look, here's what's clear after today. There can be no good faith disagreement. The facts all point to Trump and his actions. There can only be bad faith. Like this, Senator Ted Cruz tweeting during this trial about breast milk. He's worried about how the term isn't being accepted anymore. And he says it's Orwellian.
What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
You are at a trial that you're not even paying attention to, where you are saying that what happened didn't really happen because you don't want to have to deal with the reality. That, my brother, is Orwellian. Breast milk. Why is that on your mind? Focus, Ted. If you got off Trump's teat a little bit, maybe you wouldn't be thinking about breast milk so much. Do your damn job. If Trump had his way, maybe you, but certainly not all of you, would have made it out of there. Think about that. Trump waited for hours. Why? Let's bring in our better minds. Preet Bharara and Michael Smerconish. Preet, what stood out to you today?
Well, you said it at the top of the show. I think in your first sentence, you talked about foreseeability. So the video footage obviously stands out because some of it was new and it's harrowing, and it just makes people, I think, shake once again because of what was averted narrowly, not just what happened, which was terrible. But the real crux of the matter is not just that these people did these things and that lives were lost, but what was the president's responsibility for it? What was his role in it? And I think the most powerful arguments and presentations made today connected up what Donald Trump said and did and how it was foreseeable that the things he said and did led to that violence, among other things. The fact that he has on prior occasions condoned violence. There was a great presentation that mentioned that bus, the Biden-Harris bus, which was tried to be run off the road by supporters of Trump. And what did Trump do after that? And I'd forgotten about this. He tweeted a video about it, approving of it. That tells the people who were responsible for this thing that happened on January 6th that they had the president's support. A couple of other stunning things that directly involve the president, his participation in inciting the insurrection. We found out, and some of this was known before, but we found out that the president made clear that he wanted the event to take place not on January 22nd or 23rd, but caused it to be moved, according to the presentation, to January 6th. Why? Because that's the day they were counting the votes. And what else did he do? Apparently, the White House was involved in making sure that the route was changed on January 6th so that people could march to the Capitol. So he had direct involvement in sort of the mechanics of what was happening that day, the timing of what was happening that day, and on occasion after occasion had reason to understand that his supporters felt emboldened by him and were violent in nature, and tons of reports to that effect were being made to law enforcement, to the executive branch. So, in combination, I think they made a very powerful case today that the president bears responsibility for what happened on January 6th.
What was impressive to me, Michael, was their recitation of what Trump did during the event and the inaction and him only making calls of political convenience. And when he did put out statements, how mild they were and really apologetic for asking the people to stop. And yet Lindsey Graham says that the legal theory of the Democrats is absurd. Your take?
I agree with you, and I want you to think about something. If on the afternoon of January the 6th, after delivering that speech, that afternoon, if President Trump did not want rioting, did not want anarchy, how would we expect him to have behaved? Not the way in which he behaved. And I think you can judge his behavior as being satisfied, maybe even gleeful, with what was transpiring. So much of our attention up until now has been on the speech that he delivered on the 6th or on his conduct between November 3rd and January 6th. But what today really did for me was illuminate the point that you've made, which is how much we can glean from exactly the way he comported himself that day. There's one missing element that I wish we had. I wish we had eyewitness testimony, someone in the White House, someone in the Oval Office, someone who watched him watching flat screen TVs in the anteroom to share with us exactly what his tone and demeanor were.
Yeah, strong point. I get that witnesses are a plus minus, but I think that they are needed. And that's why we're doing them on the show, frankly. Tonight, we have one of the Proud Boys talking about why he went there. Now that's gonna be a little bit of fireworks, because I don't know that I believe it about the Proud Boys as much as I do some of the other people that showed up that day. Now, Preet, we know that this is a political trial, okay? We know that. We know that jurors are not impartial. We know that. Mitch McConnell said it. But do you think today may have made a difference when it really dawned on me, and maybe on them, he really left you guys to die in there, that he knew they were hunting you, and he did not stop it. Did that come through?
Yeah, well, I think it did very much so. And this issue that we've been talking about, it's kind of interesting. That makes it a peculiar kind of trial and creates a conflict of interest of sorts, because a lot of these, in fact, arguably all of the senators who are also jurors, were victims or potential victims of the mob violence. You would never have it in a real trial, and you would expect that. And the reason you wouldn't have it in a normal trial is that might prejudice those jurors against the defendant. This is the defendant who's trying to do harm to them or cause harm to them. That's the allegation. And you'd want them off the jury because it might predispose them to voting guilt. So in this case, this dynamic you're talking about would be peculiar in a regular trial, might cause them to think, you know what, even this is a political consideration. Lives were at stake. My own life was at stake. It's permitted in this case, and it depends on whether or not they find that to be more valuable as a principle, their safety and the storming of the seat of our democracy in this country, or continued power and re-election. Because look what's going to happen. Look what happened to Liz Cheney. Look what happened to some other people. If they dared to say the president did something wrong on that day, and to vote that way would be to be saying that, and maybe they won't win their re-election. Maybe they'll get primaried, and it's basically a choice between remaining in power and doing something that I think would make America more powerful in the future as a democracy.
Michael, give me a quick last point.
So I agree with Preet's assessment. It's as if those who've been burglarized are now sitting in judgment of the burglar, but there's something else. Philip Bump has great reporting in the Washington Post tonight about how about one half of those Senate Republicans themselves were saying and doing things completely in sync with what the president is being held accountable for. So it raises further questions of bias on their part. How can they be fair in sitting in judgment of Trump when essentially they were doing a lot of the same?
Exactly. You have witnesses, victims, and accomplices as the jury. I mean, it really is a bizarre state of events. And then you have Trump's lawyer, who today concluded the session by saying, I already knew everything that we heard today. Really? Then why would you even put up a defense if you knew all these things that point Trump to the action? Preet Bharara, Michael Smerconish, thank you very much. All right, so we have obscene, newly revealed images of the attempted coup. They add to our understanding of the horror of how much worse it could have been on this day of infamy, January 6th. The congresswoman that you are going to see in one of these images, crouched down, hand over her chest, being comforted during the attack by another member, she's here tonight. These are witnesses to something that happened that we can never let happen again. This trial goes to that reality. What happens here will be highly suggestive of what happens next. Then we have a Senate juror who's already calling for Trump's conviction. What does he think of the case, and what does he think of what it means if there is an acquittal? Next.
When news happens anywhere in the world, CNN is there.
A CNN investigation into a peaceful protest turned deadly.
They heard an explosion. There was an exchange of gunfire. Growing concern here, imports might be carrying the virus.
The pandemic is now robbing many of even a minimum income.
This family of $3 per month. The country's always been changing, but it's never been as fast as it has been.
We're going to see if you have anything to say. Your opinion about poisoning the family?
All right, I'm going to go back to the screen and check the comments.
Stanley Tucci searching for Italy. Sunday at 9.
Oregon COVID update. Are they going to say anything about the restaurants being allowed to reopen in Portland on Friday?
All right, let's take care of it.
Wait, that's my screen. That's not the email I wanted. Oregon COVID update.
Start the year off right. You work hard. Switching to Metro isn't. Right now, there's 0 fees to switch. Get our lowest price on unlimited, just $25 a line for 4 lines, plus 4 free Galaxy phones. Metro by T-Mobile.
Mask save lives.
To rule his day.
All right.
And now a mini meditation. Inhale serenity. Exhale. Whatever is
Lowest weekly total deaths since mid-November.
bring your focus back to your customer, Tom.
Hospitalizations fell sharply.
Salesforce customers.
People aged 20 to 49 still account for more than half of the COVID cases. While people 70 and older have accounted for 76% of the deaths. 116 active COVID-19 outbreaks in senior living communities and congregate living communities in Portland.
That's why I went to thezebra.com. Because while every company claims to save
13
money on
new
car
deaths,
insurance, the Zebra shows you who
vaccinations,
actually
cases,
can.
and
You can
deaths.
easily compare quotes from top providers all at once.
2,000
You can
and
save up to $375 a year.
32
no fees
deaths
and
in
no
Oregon.
screaming phone calls. Because who needs that?
Hospitalizations. All right, I'm not eligible for the vaccine yet, even though I'm in a high-risk category, and I've been freaking sitting here for 11 months. All right.
Now that we have all our fresh ingredients, let's get started. I absolutely love HelloFresh because they just have these amazing
Promotions. Let's check
recipes
promotions. Bo Bear and Wolf saw the cheesecake promotion that expires tomorrow. They want free cheesecake.
At my doorstep and look at
And Valentine's, well, Valentine's Day candy.
I'm so proud. Hit refresh
Let's
with
see.
HelloFresh. Use code YUM10 for 10 free meals, including free shipping.
Will that
So
at
I
least?
am back
All
in the
right,
kitchen
let me
with
go back.
HelloFresh. How amazing does
All right.
Argentine chimichurri steak sound? Now that we have all our fresh ingredients, let's get started. I absolutely love HelloFresh because they just have these amazing, delicious,
All right,
simple
hats.
recipes when you're someone
19
who's busy lifestyle
viewers,
like myself.
4
I need
hearts.
convenience. I don't have time to go to the grocery store. I
No
need
new
stuff at my
comments.
doorstep, and look at how amazing
Let's
my
check
HelloFresh
the.
dish looks. I'm so proud. Hit refresh with HelloFresh. Use code
Let's
YUM10
check
for 10 free meals,
the
including free
Discover
shipping.
page and see if it's on the feature
The
board.
Garcias are good at saving. Maybe.
How many people are actually using hacks?
Good RX.
Hi, Mr. Garcia.
Prescription. They're good at
John
saving.
Ho's prepping for Chinese New Year. I would watch that if I weren't watching this. All right, Ruby Noosa's on. Let's see. Who else? 6 Ruby Noosa was on. Aaron Haber was on. Michael Bathurst was on. I don't know who Michael Bathurst is. Let's see. Collapse live broadcast. Wait. See 5 more live broadcasts. Prepping for Chinese New Year. How do I get on the board? Do I have to stay on for a certain amount of time or turn on my camera? I could try. Let me try turning on my phone, my other phone. Let's try turning on the feed on the other phone.
When you hear the question, is January 6th really any different than what happened last summer?
Yes, it is different.
Absolutely. 58 steps away, tell them. That's what impeachment manager Eric Swalwell noted in terms of how close a mob that was looking to hurt and kill members of Congress got to senators as they evacuated the Senate floor on that day of infamy. Now, over in the House chamber, not everyone could be cleared out at once. You've heard about this before. The lower floor had one set of options. The gallery up top didn't have the same set of options. Some remained trapped up there. They could hear the rioters outside. This is that room.
Representatives, staff, journalists all took cover under their chairs, helped each other put on their gas masks, and held hands as rioters gathered outside. Here in this slide, you see Representative Jason Crow comforting our colleague, Representative Susan Wild.
Feed on my other phone.
The rioters continued to surround the House chamber, flooding the halls and kicking on the doors as they passed them.
Imagine being in that room. This was the scene outside the House lobby doors. Rioters calling up a mob that would eventually lead to smashed doors and the deadly shooting of rioter Ashley Babbitt when that group refused to stop trying to breach the entry. Inside, on the other side, in the gallery, Democratic Congresswoman Susan Wild. You saw her in that picture, and she joins us now. Thank God, it is good to see you safe and in a very different setting.
All right, here's the feed.
I know you don't love to see that, but during this trial, you are a witness, and it matters. I know you don't love to see that. Take me inside the head and heart. You are a witness, and it matters. Take me inside the head and heart that was lying on that floor in that moment.
Can't hear her.
Hold on.
How much is this phone charge?
I think you have yourself muted.
30? That's more than this phone.
It's okay. It sounded great. No, I couldn't hear anything.
Yeah, sure.
Tell me again.
I don't remember ever actually lying on my back like that. I remember being in a crouched over position, and it was very disconcerting to see that picture because it brought back some things back. I'm pretty sure that picture was taken just after I got off the phone with my children, my adult children. We had FaceTimed up in the gallery, and I remember after I hung up with them feeling an extraordinary sense of panic and feeling as though my heart was beating outside my chest. And so I think that's when that picture was taken. I remember Jason Crow reaching out and stroking my hand, and I remember thinking to myself, how does he know that I'm so upset? And so seeing that picture really sort of brought back to me just how awful those moments were. And I have to say they were more than moments. The estimates of how long we were actually up there in the gallery range anywhere from 25 minutes to 45 minutes. And I don't have any way of estimating how long it was, but it seemed like forever.
More important.
Wow, my face is red.
How are you doing now? How have you been doing since then? About a month out or so, very often traumatic experiences like that, and that's what that was. Doesn't matter what didn't happen. It's what you thought might happen that was realistic in that context. How are you doing?
Why isn't it
Well,
muting?
it's been 5 weeks, exactly. And I've dealt with it in the way that I deal with a lot of things in my life, and that is by throwing myself into other things. Many of us are doing a lot of different things in Congress right now, specifically related to COVID relief, and that's what I've mostly been focused on. Comfort in that work, but as the impeachment has proceedings have grown closer, and we've started to get ready to see this on television. And of course, over the last 2 days, I've seen vivid footage that I have never seen before. I've seen snippets, just like your viewers have seen snippets, but I've never seen the incredibly graphic videos that we've seen, and it's been very distressing, I have to say. It's triggering, I guess, is the right word.
I think that is the right word. And, you know, you got to treat yourself like you fell down a flight of stairs, Representative. You know what I mean? You got to be kind to yourself. And if you start to feel things, you got to get help, just like you would.
Low power mode.
You know, injuries on the inside are the same as injuries on the outside. And I don't want to traumatize or re-traumatize.
Look who's here.
I do want to traumatize the people who are sitting as jurors. Because there's too much of a rush here to dismiss this, to move past it, because they have different political inclinations and worries. The tweet from your son, Clay, you know, it's just a situation. I feel so much for your family. Just like whenever I hear about a family that is being exposed to something by extension of their loved ones or their parents. My mom just called to say she loves us very much. She sounds strong. Shots have been fired inside the Capitol and lots of screaming in the background. Please, I'm begging to anyone responsible, just help cool this chaos. What is the hardest part in understanding what you lived through emotionally?
The hardest part for me as a mother, and I think anybody listening to this who is a parent will understand, the hardest part for me, even if as I was there in the gallery listening to shots and breaking glass and pounding on the door, was weighing whether I should call my children and upset them or whether I should talk to them because it might be the last time that I did. Little did I know that they had full awareness of what was going on, so I'm glad that I did call them. But it's very, very difficult as a parent to ever think that you've caused your children any distress, even completely, beyond your own control. So for me, it was the distress, and still is, by the way, the distress that I know that my adult kids felt that day and have been feeling since. I've talked with them about it somewhat. We don't talk about it all the time, but I know that it was very, very, very upsetting for them until the moment that they knew that I was safe.
Whatever helps you feel better, whatever helps you process, do it. Trust me, I've been in those situations. Talk, say how you feel, listen to how they feel. But I will tell you this, watching you and your colleagues go back into that place when I don't even know how they had guarantees that it was safe. I don't even know how they were able to clear the building as fast as you guys got back in, and doing your duty and dealing with the torment of seeing the people on the right side of the aisle stand up and certify and refuse to certify on the basis of a lie. That was a brave moment. And yes, it was a profile in courage for those of you who went back in.
I have to find my medicine for my face.
I'm sorry it came at that price, and I wish you well.
Thank you so much, Chris.
God bless. Be good to yourself, Representative. All right, now let's turn to a juror and witness inside the Senate chamber, Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal. So you're in there, and you know, as you look around the room, that some of your brothers and a few of your sisters on the right are really not family to you anymore. They're not paying attention, Senator. They don't give a damn. They've made up their mind of what to do here, and it's all about expediency, even though they know you got lucky, all of you walking out there that day. What do you say?
Chris, we were lucky beyond words. We were fortunate to be 58 feet from that mob instead of in their grip. And there were so many close calls, Senator Romney and Senator Schumi almost walking into the grip of the mob. And what I say to my Republican colleagues is, let's revive the spirit of that moment when we were in a safe place after 5 hours and we resolved. We were unanimous in our enthusiasm in going back and continuing the vote. But my heart was in my throat as I watched many of these absolutely profoundly shaking videos of the Capitol Police defending us even as the president defied his
Coffee.
office and failed to come to their aid, failed to do anything to help his vice president. In fact, at the very moment when his vice president was fleeing for his life, then President Trump was calling a senator asking him to raise additional objections. I think the betrayal of his oath is so stark and stunning here. I just cannot understand how my Republican colleagues can look at themselves in the mirror, look at history, look at their constituents, look at their children, and vote for an acquittal here.
You know, one of the reasons it's a little bit of kind of a re-exposure is that half the political aisle has been in denial about what happened in January 6th since it happened. They don't talk about it. They talked about the riots last summer every day because it played to advantage. They've been quiet about this. American flags used as battering rams. They've never seen anything like this, but they don't talk about it out of expediency. Now today, we get new audio of what that Officer Sickwick and the people around him and his detachment were dealing with. I want to play some to you just to get some context of what it is that killed this man.
Cruiser 50, a copy. We're still taking rocks. Follow. If he's in the flag, you let him go. Cruiser 50, the crowd is using munitions against us. They have bear spray in the crowd. Bear spray in the crowd. DSO, I need a re-up up here. Cruiser 50, we lost the line. OMPD, pull back. OMPD, pull back up to the upper deck. OMPD, pull back to the upper deck. ASAP. OMPD, come back to the upper deck. Upper deck. Cruiser 50 has blanked. 1033. I repeat, 1033, West Point Capitol. We've been blanked and we've lost the line.
The only times, Senator, that you and I have heard men with that kind of shake in their voice, and he's obviously moving, is war. And Officer Sickwick, that is not Officer Sicknick. It's one of the others in his detachment. They believe it may have been investigators. Now their lead theory is that he was sprayed with one of these repellents that they may have had, and it later caused a reaction that caused his death, and they're investigating it. But the panic, how do you juxtapose how you should feel about that man who was in that position to save you with what's happening with this rush to acquit?
Chris, there is no justification, in my view, for acquittal here. The Republicans may rely on this bogus constitutional argument or a completely frivolous First Amendment claim, but as I listen to that officer in distress, my mind goes to Brian Sicknick, who went to work that day, expecting to come home.
Why does it say go live?
And I went to his memorial lying in state. He was a sweet, decent man who dedicated his life to this country. He served in the military and in the Capitol Police. We're a family here, Chris. You know, we go to work every day. We see the same Capitol Police. We get to know them. And there's a really human element here that I think has to impact my colleagues. And, you know, another thing to keep in mind here is that bloodlust was bipartisan. They were after Republicans, Democrats, the vice president, the Speaker of the House. That was domestic terrorism. It was not directed at one party or another. And so for my Republican colleagues to ignore their oath, even after Donald Trump ignored his oath, is really unconscionable and incomprehensible. And one last point. I view Donald Trump's failure to come to our defense, to call out the National Guard or supplement those Capitol Police who were being battered. That policeman who was caught in the door, blood coming from his mouth and his headgear off, even as he called for help. And Donald Trump
didn't fucking care.
Never lifted a finger and never denounced not once, the violence of that day. He called them special people. We love you, he said. I think my Republican colleagues have some thinking to do between now and the verdict here, and I hope they remember what they've seen these days rather than trying to put it out of mind. They can't look away. They can't wish it away. This domestic terrorism is bigger than all of us, and they have an obligation to do what's right for the country.
Yeah, which Starbucks
Senator
is that
Richard
that got broken?
Blumenthal, thank you very much for joining us. Good luck with the job going forward. Here's what we know.
Was that recent?
The people who were there trying to do terrible things and succeeding were taking their orders from Trump. That's what we hear over and over again. I get that calling witnesses is a tricky proposition. I personally think it's a mistake. I think that these senators on the right and left should be confronted with the humanity that they may or may not choose to ignore. When you look at these guys, even the ones from the worst groups with their own agendas, okay, like the Proud Boys, even they say, the one who was mentioned today at the trial, Dominic Pezzola, he appeared before a federal judge, and he said why he went, what his motive was, and how he developed it. You need to hear it.
Right, this phone's at 10%, but it's not going to take out the broadcast because the broadcast is on two devices. And I know I need to get a new battery. Now they're showing the double masking.
When it comes to your financial health, just a few small steps can make a real difference.
Improve the fit of a single surgical mask. It hugs the face better. I can't see with my surgical mask and my N95 because it clogs up my glasses. The respirator works better.
Hi, I'm Hanno. I created Gabi because most people overpay on car insurance. Gabi is a free tool that saves you money by finding the best deal. Gabi users save more than $800 per year on average. Go to Gabi.com and stop overpaying for car insurance.
Push to get as many schools open as possible within the first 100 days of office.
Welcome to Wayne's World. Party on, Wayne. Party on, Garth. As a local access show, we want everyone to support local restaurants.
But we'd never manipulate you like the way all these other commercials do.
Sure, that's really sad.
We'd never shamelessly rely on a celebrity cameo.
Right, Cardi B?
Yeah, eat local.
During sophomore, what is she saying? Hopefully more kids will be back in school 5 days a week as quickly as that can happen.
Sleep soundly tonight from the brand that more families trust for quality and timeless protection.
New COVID guidance for
One might wonder how someone like you came to be in this place.
Land is 4 stars. A perfect film. It's a powerful cinematic experience, and Wright delivers an extraordinary performance.
I want to be able to survive here.
Land, only in theaters Friday. Rated PG-13.
Our physicians are trying to keep up with the virus. My team frustration, yeah.
With Hydroxycut, there's no gallons of celery juice.
How many people are watching you broadcast? I'm going to check that. We're shooting over the number. Let me look. 21.
There's no hangry fasting. Just results you can count on. With research-backed key ingredients, there's no fads, just weight loss.
Your online activity can expose your personal info there, and everywhere. Norton 360 with LifeLock is all-in-one protection for your devices, online privacy, and identity. Go to Norton.com.
24/7 vaccinations.
Tuesday night, only on CNN. President Joe Biden, his first town hall as president. Live with Anderson Cooper. Joe Biden, a presidential town hall, Tuesday night at 8 Eastern, only on CNN.
What is going on, you beautiful human of the world?
Head up, let's go!
Drive the heels down, pick the pace up, let's roll.
Now that phone hit 20%.
It feels good to breathe, doesn't it?
Your change, your evolution, your transformation, you have to want it. Soul Cycle, welcome home.
Order your Soul Cycle at home bike now for delivery in 1 to 3 weeks.
Everyone wants to save on prescriptions, but are you saving the most? Check out RX Saver, a free coupon app and website where you can see prices and save up to 85% on your prescriptions. It could even beat your insurance copay. Just visit rxsaver.com, type in your meds, select your pharmacy, and show the coupon when you pay. Now you're in RX Saver. Remember, you haven't saved until you're in RX Saver.
The city's thriving even through the pandemic.
It's not just about what happened on January 6th. It could be. But we both know that Donald Trump spent months mobilizing an army. House managers laid out that on that day of January 6th, the day he picked, he unleashed that mob. The target was the U.S. Capitol.
You'll see more about this later in the trial, but you'll see in these photos, to the left, Dominic Pizzola, and to the right, William Pepe, two of the leaders of the group heading to the Capitol on January 6th. They were later charged with working together to obstruct law enforcement. I have already discussed Proud Boys member Dominic Pizzola, who has since been charged with 8 federal crimes for his
He did what he did matters in the trial of this former president. Jonathan Zucker represents Pizzola. Counselor, can you hear me?
Hear you loud and clear.
Just one step backwards. When Donald Trump said about the Proud Boys, stand back and stand by, let me remind the audience of that moment.
What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
white supremacists and Proud Boys. Stand back and stand by.
Now, we all took that as way too weak, almost condoning them. Is it your understanding that so did the Proud Boys? My understanding is that they adopted that as part of their motto.
Let me preface this by saying I have never discussed this with Mr. Pizzola nor anybody else who claims to be a Proud Boy, and so I don't know what their reactions were to that. I know that Mr. Pizzola's contact with the Proud Boys is short-lived, relatively recent. It proceeded probably in December, so I don't think he's had any connection with that statement.
All right,
I'd be speculating on what.
I got you. So we'll talk about who he is, what he's about in a second, but first, he went before a judge and said, let me tell you why I believed I was doing what I had to do that day. What is his rationale?
Because Trump told him to.
Well, let me just correct you. What was said to the judge was not said by Mr. Pizzola. It was said in pleadings by me as his counsel on his behalf. And I don't think it's any secret what he and it's pretty much universal, and it's rampant through the press releases and the tapes that have been played in the Senate today and all the tapes that have been played of the event. He, along with other people who participated in that event, believed they were acting as patriots. They were responding. He's former military. He's proud of his country. He considers himself a loyal American citizen. And the President of the United States said that the election was being stolen and it was time for citizens to stand up and take action and take control. And so he followed those instructions, believing he was acting as a patriot, which is consistent with pretty much what I've heard from everybody who was down there, either from them or from their counsel who represented them. It's not in dispute. And it was played out in the Senate today and in numerous press releases.
Well, it's very much. You can
hear them.
It's very much in dispute, right? I mean, you have the whole Senate flank of the Senate, the Republican flank of the Senate saying they went on their own accord. This had nothing to do with Trump. But you're saying your client has communicated to you that the president's words and assertions motivated his actions that day.
I can't get into privileged conversations, but I can say that that is consistent. But it's not a disputed issue. That is, if you listen to the tapes of the activities on January 6th at the Capitol, you could hear over and over again everybody there chanting that they were there on behalf of President Trump.
But it's a little different with him. It's a little different with him, and let me make this point.
Pizzola?
Because Pizzola is a part of a group that is the worst of us. They are a white hate nationalist organization. They are not about democracy. He is not a patriot. They are not about patriotism. They are about racism. So he may be a veteran, but he's clearly forgotten what his duty is and what being a patriot is. And I'm surprised to hear that with them having their own agenda, that anything Trump was saying mattered to them at all. He didn't go to that Capitol as a patriot. He went there as a terrorist, and he knows it.
I would dispute that. I don't think he knows that. I don't think he considers himself that. I don't think anybody, at least that I've encountered in connection with that, has that opinion. Similarly, I do not know and have never heard Pizzola express anything about white supremacy. And he doesn't speak on behalf of all of the Proud Boys.
That's what the Proud Boys are about. They're a white nationalist, neo-fascist organization. They were started as part of the alt-right. They were condemned by their founder for being too light, so they hardened up. I mean, it is weird that they got the Afro-Cuban guy as their leader, but they're about white nationalism. That's what they are. I don't know why an Italian-American guy would join, but they're just a bunch of haters. That's why I'm surprised to hear that they would be led by Trump. They have their own hateful agenda.
Well, my contact with this case, I've not seen anything that indicates that, at least in relation to Pizzola. I've never heard him express and never seen anything.
He attacked the Capitol.
He's claimed to express that.
He attacked the Capitol. He wanted to beat the hell out of different cops and find members of Congress and hurt them or kill them. That's not informative.
Well, I'm not sure that's 100% accurate. He certainly did it. Yeah, he certainly was part of the insurrection, and he was present there. But I never.
What do you want to do there? What do you want to do? Get autographs? Why was he going?
He was going there at the behest of the president because he thought he was a patriot and protecting democracy.
To do what?
What?
To do what?
Because they believed that the election had been stolen.
Yeah, so what was he going to do about
Trump's entreaties? I think they wanted to stop the count.
Yeah, how?
I think by disrupting, well, I don't want to get into the
you don't want to get into it because you know exactly what they were going to do. Everybody deserves a defense, Mr. Zucker. But he didn't go there to talk to anybody. He broke a window. He could have walked through a door. He broke a window. They were violent, and they were trying to hurt people, period. Good luck at court. Everybody deserves a defense.
Excuse me. I would take issue with that because I've not seen anything indicating Pizzola ever attempted to physically hurt anybody. There's an allegation he broke a window, and I'm not going to be... there's certainly evidence that he did that, but I never heard him express an intent to hurt anybody.
I hear you, but he's with a group of he's with an organization that has been designated an extremist organization and that talks ugly talk about hurting all kinds of people, including your interviewer tonight.
No.
But he deserves a defense. His motive is relevant, and that's why I wanted you to come on the show, and I appreciate you taking that opportunity.
Well, and I think the motive is, and certainly he feels. As do most of the people who participated in this, he feels betrayed by the president. But their motive was they thought they were being loyal Americans.
I hear you.
It was misguided. It was mistaken. But that's what their motive was, if you want to know what their motive was.
I hear it, and I appreciate you telling the audience that. Jonathan Zucker, thank you. We'll be right back.
Take care.
All right, Woof Woof. Nobody's on here. So I'm going to check another screen.
Have you looked on the bright side? Does the governor ever hold you responsible for unauthorized purchases on your card?
Signal.
I just don't have the bandwidth for more business. Seriously, I don't have the bandwidth. Glitchy video calls with regional offices? Yeah, that's my thing. With AT&T Business, you do the things you love. Our people and network will help do the things you don't. Let's take care of business. AT&T. Your next celebrity cruise is ready for takeoff with our biggest air offer ever. Save on every flight, from every gateway, on every sailing. And with drinks, Wi-Fi, and tips always included for everyone, you have everything you need for an unforgettable vacation. Celebrity Cruises. Sail beyond.
Dad, I'm scared. It's only human to care for those we love and also help light their way. It's why last year Chevron invested billions of dollars to bring affordable, reliable, ever cleaner energy to America.
Rise up this morning, smiling with the rising sun. This is my message to you. Sandals and Grill, Jamaica's most sought after beach resort. Call 1-800-SANDALS. Real Home Realizations by Realtor.com.
I just noticed something. The more air horns a song has, the louder my neighbor plays it.
Now that you've spent so much time at home, maybe it's time to find a new one. Realtor.com. 3 gourmet gurus are remixing your favorite fast foods. Panda Express orange chicken. Phil's hot dog, everybody.
Carl's Jr. Burger.
This is on point. You sure you don't work for Domino's? Fast Foodies. All new. Thursdays at 10:30 on True TV.
Imagine diving into the biggest closet in the world, packed with your favorite brands and styles at unbelievable prices. Welcome to ThredUp, the world's largest online thrift store, with over 50,000 new items every day at unbeatable prices. Madewell from $9, Anthropologie from $13, Coach from $25, Nike from $6. From these racks right to your door. Check out the app and see for yourself. Enter code NEW for up to an extra 50% off your first order at thredup.com.
We're not saying Daily Harvest will change your life, but we're pretty sure it can make some things easier, like one-handed breakfast. And we can't promise Daily Harvest will mean eating well 100% of the time, or that it will be the first of many steps to a healthier way of life, or that it will give you more energy to chase your goals, or whatever you want to chase. But we're not saying that. We can say that Daily Harvest takes care of food, so that food can take care of you. So it's a pretty good place to start. Get started today at dailyharvest.com.
The second impeachment of Donald Trump. Special live coverage continues tomorrow on CNN.
Look, just to be clear, all right? The Proud Boys are not patriots. I'm not here to have this guy make his case. It's about what it means as motive for his ugly actions that day as a hateful, nationalist, white nationalist organization. He went there because he felt that that's what Trump was telling him to do. And the idea that they didn't go there to do bad things in his name, look, everybody deserves a defense. But to be clear, the guy said, quote, to kill anyone they got their hands on, and they would have killed, including Nancy Pelosi. At his house, the FBI found a thumb drive filled with files detailing instructions for firearms, poisons, and or explosives. These are the kinds of guys that Trump told to stand by and stand back. They adapted it as a motto. They are bad people. They are hateful people. And I will not shy away in saying that. And they deserve no quarter. And they deserve absolutely no defense in the court of public opinion. They are the worst of us. And it's embarrassing that a guy with an Italian-American name would get caught up with a bunch of white bigots. But his motive matters for this case. But make no mistake about who these people are, because they are now in the conversation, and they will do more of this online and off. We have never been in any kind of situation like this in our lifetime. And it's time to stop dancing around it. Let's bring in Carl Bernstein, because he lived it before. And people always draw the comparison, Carl. Nixon, this is like Nixon. You were there, you're here.
Oh my goodness.
What's the feel in contrast?
This is unprecedented. This is a seditious president of the United States who has undermined the very basis of our democracy, who does not care about loss of life. It's the same president who is negligent in homicidal terms because of his handling of the COVID situation and not handling that in a way that would save American lives. But let's talk about one other thing. That this event that we witnessed today in these horrible videos was about the presence of evil. And the evil here is an evil president of the United States. Yes, it's an open and shut case in terms of the incitement, but there's a moral dimension to this. You know, I've covered the courts, you're a lawyer, and in cases of violence that juries take into consideration in their minds the presence of evil. And that's really part of what the Republican Party here seems to refuse to consider. That evil has come to be the agenda of a president, and they have gone along with it. So there's a moral dimension that we really ought to be considering in this, as well as the legal and the trial.
Well, you got a dynamic here you didn't have with Nixon. Some of those senators,
that's right,
they're not all just witnesses, which you didn't have in Nixon.
They were
There's many of them potential victims, and some you could argue are accomplices. What does that mean?
They're accessories after the fact as well.
Some before and during. They were saying a lot of the same stuff that he was.
Look, what we know is that this Republican Party is enthralled to the evil of Donald Trump, including undermining the very basis of our democracy, the electoral system. They have aped his words for months about a rigged election. They allowed this terrible undermining of the process to go forward up to the point of the day on January 6th. Some of them were still talking about that we needed to see if there was some kind of rigged election here. This is unprecedented. A party, one of our political parties, has become hostage to an undemocratic, seditious president of the United States and the evil that he has wrought, including with COVID as well. It's all of a piece, and we need to look at it in terms of both the law, the facts, and the moral dimension.
Carl Bernstein, appreciate you as a mentor and as a student of history who lived it then and you're living it now. Thank you, brother.
Good to be with you.
We'll be right back.
I said hello, but I don't see it. So there I see it. It's quiet, too quiet. We'll show your new follows, subs, tiers, raids, and host activities.
Ladder Life Insurance popped up.
1 viewer, 9
so
views.
When the price popped up on
4
the phone,
followers.
I was like, yes, now. Yeah, I've been approved.
All right.
One thing that I have been putting off for a decade
Where
is
is
now
the
actually
feed?
checked off. Here's how Ladder works. Answer a few quick questions and get your personalized
I
quote.
don't see
If you're
it.
eligible,
Where's the
we'll cover
feed?
you with the tap of a button. It's that easy. Come see for yourself why customers love Ladder. $1 million policies available for just $27 a month. Check your price now at
Live. Okay,
ladderlife.com.
live, so why don't I see it? Where's the screen?
Wow. There's a little renaissance of
Screen manager.
That is really
Wait.
good.
A new CNN
What if I turn on the volume? Do I hear it then?
Searching
No.
for Italy. Sunday
Where's
at
the
9.
screen at?
These folks, they don't
My
have time to go
channel.
to the post office. They have businesses to grow,
There, live,
customers to
1
care for,
viewer.
lives to get home to. They use stamps.com. Print discounted postage for any letter, any package, anytime, right from your computer. All the services of the post office, plus UPS, only cheaper. Get our special TV offer. A
What if I
4-week
follow
trial plus
myself?
postage and a
You
digital
can't follow
scale.
yourself.
Go to stamps.com/try and never go to the post office again.
Why is there all that feedback?
Call. Download the free app now. I'm Angela, and I have an online store. It's a lot to remember.
All right.
With
Whoa.
Brain, I can do
All right, you guys and
day long.
gals.
Four
Let me
Brain's
check
ingredients help
Periscope.
improve memory, learning, clarity, focus, and more. Rush to Walmart
What
to
time
find
is it?
Four
It's
Brain, our #1 brain
6:59.
booster.
I'm tired. I already said that.
CNN Tonight with Don Lemon. Coming up next.
And I have coffee.
Friends, we will be back at midnight Eastern with a special live late-night edition of Prime Time. But now it is time for the big show.
What does that
CNN
say?
Tonight with its star, D. Lemon.
You know what, Chris? You know what we've been, all day everyone's been saying, the big lie, right? It was the big lie. What the president had people believing that. And my Catholic school education taught me to go deeper and go deeper. And I kept saying, tell people what the big lie is. Tell people what the big lie is.
The big lie is that Donald Trump won the fucking election.
The election was stolen. It was rigged. Where was it rigged? Who stole the election? Who stole the election? I'm asking you.
I don't know. Who stole the election?
Who stole the election? The people in Michigan, the people who are in Wayne County, in Detroit, right? 80% of the population, Black and Hispanic. The people who are in Wisconsin and Milwaukee County, where there is 27% of the county population.
Everywhere
Black,
he alleged a fraud was a minority stronghold.
And the people who came to that Capitol today, and I kept saying to the television, somebody please say it. Those people who were enraged, those people who came there with the Camp Auschwitz t-shirts, who came there from the Proud Boys, who came there as Nazis and white supremacists. What were they saying? They were saying the president has been not even dog whistling to them, that this election was stolen from you, good people, white people, from the black folks in those counties, in Atlanta, in Philadelphia, in Detroit. That's who stole the election. Why do you think that type of person showed up at the Capitol with Confederate flags? Because the president was telling them, your country, what do you say? You're not going to have a country again. What do you think that means?
You're not going to have a country anymore.
Yeah, what does that mean?
It means that the black man's going to take over.
Okay. That's what this is all
Led by
about.
Cory Booker.
That's what this is all about.
White neighborhood.
And I'm like kept flipping through. I'm like, when is someone gonna say this?
Do you remember when he said that?
Yeah, that Cory Booker is coming to your neighborhood. That's what this is all about. And that's why we continue to talk. We need to figure this out. That is the impetus. That is the start of this whole experiment that here in America. And he has been playing on people. I hear people on other channels and conservative media saying, this has nothing to do with race. Really? Ask the guy with the Camp Auschwitz t-shirt if it has nothing to do with racism or bigotry.
Anytime you're playing to white fright, white grievance, then it has to have a racial component. And look, it's not a secret why he doesn't have a huge black or minority following.
But Chris, it's not just a racial component. That is the source of the anger. That is the big lie that he told people. Those are the places, this is a fact, I'm speaking here, people. Those are the places that he told people that he contested the election. He contested the election in the counties that had large black and Hispanic populations. And he said it was a loss of democracy. His Trump's campaign challenge of election results in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Arizona pushed the U.S. toward a loss of democracy. He's saying that we are losing our democracy and you're letting people steal it from you. Who's stealing it from you? The places where he contested the election. And that's what? Black and brown people. That's not just a part of it. That's the whole thing in a nutshell. That's why those people were enraged.
A button that he was pushing. But, look, he plays to who the elites are. He plays to any layer of division. He's a demagogue.
Yeah, you're right about that.
And look, words matter. And I can't believe that they're going to forgive this. The reason that people are surprised by what they're seeing that happened on January 6th is because one half of your political spectrum won't talk about it. They ran away from the 6th as fast as their legs could carry them because they knew it was bad for them.
Yeah.
And when they were told, don't play with the Proud Boys like this. Don't play with good people on both sides. Don't say he didn't say it. Say you don't agree with it. Say it's wrong, because then they come. Now, out of the shadows, out of the wet earth where they live, out of the internet, they came. And you get guys like this Chooch Pizzola thinking he's a patriot, coming to attack the Capitol. These are bad guys. Stand back, stand by. They adopted it as a motto.
Yeah.
And now they're in the game.
Nobody should be surprised. And no one should be surprised in saying, I can't believe that these people are going to vote against him, or they're going to vote for him not to be impeached or for him not to be convicted. I can't believe they're going to acquit him. Of course you can believe it. Look what happened. Look what they condoned. Look what it led course they're going to do it. That's what they do. That's why everyone gets mad at me when I say this. If you don't condemn it, then you're on the side of the people who are at that Capitol doing what they did. I love you. I got to run. I love you, D. Lemon. I love you too, brother. I'll see you soon. This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon, and we're about the truth here. What I'm speaking, facts. If you don't like it, look it up. Senators are getting looked today. Got to look today at just how lucky they are to be alive. That is the truth as well. Chilling, never before seen video of what actually happened when they were under attack from a bloodthirsty mob. A mob with tactical gear, some carrying flex cuffs. At least one had a stun gun. A violent mob, unleashed by the former president. They were rampaging through the halls of Congress, looking for targets, looking for them. Look at this. The moment caught on camera right here, security camera, when hero police officer Eugene Goodman saved Senator Mitt Romney. The senator didn't even realize the significance of this or that the officer had likely saved his life until today. Impeachment manager Stacey Plaskett narrating the silent video.
Officer Goodman passes Senator Mitt Romney and directs him to turn around in order to get to safety.
Where? Let me see.
On the first floor, just beneath them, the mob had already started to search for the Senate chamber. Officer Goodman made his way down to the first floor where he encountered the same insurrectionists we just saw watch breach the Capitol. In this video, we can see the rioters surge toward Officer Goodman. Recall that the rioters are in red and Officer Goodman in this model is in blue. Watch Officer Goodman, who backs up the stairs.
That phone was at 2%, so I turned on the TV. Can you hear it? Hero police officer Eugene Goodman saved Senator Mitt Romney before he went upstairs and saved everybody else. Nobody knew about the first part till today.
That officer, saving lives. Senator Mitt Romney, as you'd expect, shaken by that. He spoke with Officer Goodman at the Senate. As they came back from recess, and told reporters about their exchange. And here's what he said. He says, "I expressed my appreciation to him for coming to my aid and getting me back into the path of safety, and expressed my appreciation for all that he did that day. And he took me through his full day. And he was exhausted going from one part of the building to the other, up and down stairs. He indicated that he had to breathe a lot of bear spray and tear gas, and that he was nauseated. I'm sure he was. What a hero. And I had been nauseated just watching it." There's been more never before seen video showing just how close the rioters got to the Vice President, Mike Pence.
You can see Vice President Pence and his family quickly move down the stairs. The Vice President turns around briefly as he's headed down. As Pence was being evacuated, rioters started to spread throughout the Capitol. Those inside helped other rioters break in through doors in several locations around this entire building. And the mob was looking for Vice President Pence because of his patriotism because the vice president had refused to do what the president demanded and overturn the election results. During the assault on the Capitol, extremists reportedly coordinated online and discussed how they could hunt down the vice president. Journalists in the Capitol reported they heard rioters say they were looking for Pence in order to execute him. Trump's supporters had erected a gallows on the lawn in front of the Capitol building. Another group of rioters chanted, "Hang Mike Pence," as they stood in the open door of the Capitol building. You can hear the security alarm from the door in the background, and you can hear the mob calling for the death of the Vice President of the United States.
Mike Pence and his family running for their lives, being hurried out so the mob couldn't kill him, which they wanted to do. You heard them. And just 2 minutes earlier, the then president was tweeting an attack on his own vice president for just doing his duty. This is a man to whom they pledged their undying loyalty. Give me a break. I want you to listen to what lead impeachment manager Jamie Raskin says about one of the Capitol officers there that day.
Afterwards, overwhelmed by emotion, he broke down in the rotunda. And he cried for 15 minutes.
I'm checking my game.
And he shouted out, "I got called an N-word 15 times today."
What?
And then he reported, "I sat down with one of my buddies, another black guy, and tears just started streaming down my face. And I said, 'What the F, man? Is this America?'"
So you have the black officer there, Officer Goodman and others, who saved lives. They're all ethnicities, but you have the black officers there who saved lives and then had to clean up the mess, the black and brown workers in the Capitol. And you have senators there. They're not fighting for the people who were there who cleaned up the mess. They're not fighting for the black folks all around this country whose votes that they tried to undermine. That's the truth of this. That's what this is all about. That's what the big lie is.
Don the con.
And even after everything we have seen, the former president hasn't shown one, not
he doesn't give a fuck. Nothing. That's why.
No remorse for the deadly riot that he incited. No remorse for the lives lost for what he did to our democracy.
He couldn't care less.
Donald Trump acts on Twitter and otherwise when he has a message to convey. Senators, you've seen all the evidence so far, and this is clear. On January 6th, President Trump left everyone in this Capitol for dead.
So you may be asking, how could anyone who was there, how could anyone who could have died that day, how could they look at all of that and not hold him accountable?
Because they only care about their own careers.
Okay, come close. Trump's Republican enablers are making the exact same mistake, the same foolish, cowardly, deadly miscalculation now that they made in November and December, right up to the day of the MAGA mob. They didn't take the threat seriously when the then president pushed his big lie that the election was stolen. By who? By all those people in black cities. When he told his base that again and again, from November right through that terrible day at the Capitol.
Any more viewers?
They thought it was rhetoric.
Habs challenge.
Political game. Playing to the base. They abdicated their responsibility to stand up for democracy. They thought that they'd play the game, make no sacrifice.
People died and
stance, and it would all just go away, and then they could just skate by under the radar.
Doesn't work like that.
Until the Proud Boys, until the Confederate flags, until the Camp Auschwitz shirts, and the nooses and the gallows showed up at the Capitol. Until people were killed. Until they and their staffs were almost killed.
But they still don't fucking care.
They are making the exact same mistake right now. Saying what happened that day was just rhetoric. Playing a political game. Playing to the base. Abdicating their responsibility to stand up for democracy. Missing the threat. The insider-in-chief unleashed a mob. A racist mob. Don't tell me they had nothing to do with that. Come on. We see and hear. We have eyes and ears. And a brain. And if you don't stand up this time, it's going to happen again. And as awful and deadly as this was, next time, we might not be so lucky. House senators are reacting to today's evidence. And what's in store for the trial tomorrow? I'll tell you after this break.
What game am I playing?
He did nothing to help us as commander-in-chief. Instead, he served as the inciter-in-chief, sending tweets that only further incited the rampaging mob.
The farm game on Up Live, but I'm not live streaming there because I'm not allowed to dual stream with
brought to you by Ryder.
That app.
Expertise, flexibility, innovation. Ever better.
So I'm playing the game offline.
Ever better. It's when disruption hits your supply chain.
All right, let me see. Why don't I get 5 more of these? 1, 2, 2, 3,
Ever see. With innovative technology that provides real-time
4,
visibility. Ever better is not a template.
5.
Discover
And then I'm going to go feed my chickens on this game. Wait, there's more. All right, I'll do 3 more. 1.
Want to get back to you again? Make it easy on
2.
With delicious, nutritious Slim Fast.
3.
Shed those newfound pounds. How? However you want.
All right, now let me go back to that.
Choose some keto, advanced, or original. Use our app. Make it easy.
Already helped raise this chick.
Let's Slim Fast together. Control
How about
your
that one?
Control your day. Take your life.
Already helped raise this chick. How about that one?
Keep it off. Text me to 44123.
All right, well,
download the app and start today.
Let's see if Bob needs help.
The only non-stick frying pan infused with millions
Already
of
helped
frying
raise this
so
chick.
non-stick it's like cooking on air. Absolutely nothing.
I guess you can only help once a day.
You'll ever own. Its finish lasts 10 times
So I
longer.
have 15.
Dishwasher safe and toxin free.
Whose chick is this? Now I have 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Even broiler safe. I love to
Now,
cook all my family recipes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Everyone's favorite frying pan.
All right,
Available at
1
Pizza
hour and
stores.
25 minutes before that crop will be.
Sun, sea, fresh air are the best medicine of all.
All right, 24 minutes.
And sandals.
Do I have any more inventory? I have charm.
Whether you want to stroll hand in hand.
Let me check my charm. Since I'm so charming. Let's
Or even
see.
enjoy a dinner for 2 at one of our 5-star global gourmet restaurants. Sandals has created endless open
Did you hear
spaces.
that Portland restaurants are able to open at 25% capacity? If you're in a high-risk group, I still wouldn't eat inside a restaurant. I would still get takeout.
By overpaying on car insurance. Enter the Zebra.
Another car insurance ad?
No. The Zebra compares them all and shows you who can actually save you money. Compare car insurance for free at
All right.
thezebra.com.
For people who value themselves and their comfort. We've reimagined pajamas and loungewear with innovative fabrics that are lightweight, breathable, and insanely soft. The fit looks and feels amazing. We can guarantee their comfort.
I need 100,000 and I have 98,857.
These are pajamas and loungewear to swear by, but the only 4-letter word.
All right, I'm going to check and see. Did anyone stop by? The person that said hello was me.
free shipping.
27 viewers. I'm staying on because of the Habs challenge. You need 250 live viewers once a week for 8 weeks. I'm on week 3. All right. Greet gift assistant. Let me try. Wait. All right. I'm going to try.
Sleep soundly tonight with peace of mind from the brand
Another
that
account.
your families trust for quality and timeless protection. ADT, real protection.
This is Chad. He loves work, but
Log in via Twitter.
and now he needs a new truck. So he came to TrueCar and saw what others paid for the truck he wants. Now he can recognize
Some actress got dropped, but I didn't know who that was.
I'm an
Let's
actor,
see.
writer, director, and I broke the internet with a single podcast. I'm Stanley Tucci, and I'm bringing the amazing food and culture of Italy to CNN. Stanley Tucci.
Woof Woof saying I want cheesecake. I told Woof Woof he might be able to get cheesecake tomorrow.
Managers revealing new evidence from the deadly insurrection to make their case against the former president. Like this surveillance video from inside the Capitol as rioters broke through the windows to get in. And this body cam footage from a police officer being beaten by the violent mob. I'm going to bring in now CNN's chief political correspondent Dana Bash and chief White House correspondent Caitlin Collins. Good evening to both of you. Thanks for joining. Dana, I'm going to start with you. Can you believe how senators can watch? That's been the question to me. I'm not surprised by it, but people are questioning, how can senators watch this video of themselves almost getting killed by a bloodthirsty mob, launched at them by an impeached president, a twice impeached president now, and argue that he should face no consequences at all, Dana?
Politics.
Yeah.
The same reason that this happened in the first place, because of the silence of so many Republicans in the face of the lie that the president began telling right after the election, and frankly, as we saw laid out in such an incredibly powerful way by the House managers today, started to prime his supporters for even during the campaign before Election Day. So that's the answer to that question. Were they moved? You know, if they have blood running through their veins, they have to have been moved in some way, shape, or form. Even if it was about something that happened far away from them, never mind it happened where they were actually sitting, and to them, 6 weeks ago. But that's a very different question than whether or not they're going to break with their, political realities that keep them in power. And it looks, we'll see. Maybe there are people who are open to changing, but not in terms of my conversations, and certainly not our team on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, I'm sure it had to give them some pause. I mean, you said if they had blood running through their veins, to watch that and maybe gave them a smidge of shame. Who knows? But you're right. I'm not sure if it's going to change anything, but let's be hopeful in this moment, Dana. Caitlin, you have new reporting on how Trump's lawyers plan to respond to the House manager's presentation. What do you know? Tell me.
Well, today you saw as they sat there quietly while the House managers were going through this video that no one has ever seen before of the Vice President, of Senator Mitt Romney, and several others. But what I'm told that when they are going to prepare to start to make their case, which is likely to happen on Friday, is they are going to try to argue that they believe Democrats are glorifying violence by trying to recreate what happened on January 6th.
Glorifying violence? That's bullshit.
Step by step today, including what the president was and was
They're
not
showing
doing.
it.
That's going to be the argument that I'm told they're going to try to make. And
yeah, good luck with that.
They're going to say that Democrats are quoting President Trump out of context whenever, of course, he was giving that rally on the ellipse when he was speaking. And there is one line I'm told they're going to point to where he told them to go patriotically and peacefully up to the Capitol, though, of course, that would be selectively editing the president.
He said, I'll go with you.
The groundwork that we saw him lay for several months leading up to what happened
he didn't go with
on
them.
January the 6th. Though I still think there is a lot of apprehension in the president's circle about what exactly it's going to look like when his defense team gets on the floor, because you've seen how methodical and careful the House impeachment managers have been, and the president's team was only brought on a little over a week ago,
and they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Unprepared when they started their opening arguments, so it's not really clear what it's actually going to look like.
Yeah, well, I think it was obvious that they were unprepared. Go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
Well, I just want to add to Caitlin's reporting. I was told that because they were so ill prepared, and because they saw how powerful the video presentation was just the first day, never mind today, that the president's defense team, along with the help of his remaining political team, they've been scrambling to try to put together their own videos in which they're going to claim that, Democrats have used words like fight at protests and that Democrats have refused to concede in tight elections. I'm not so sure how much that is going to hold sway over people. I think because there are so many people who unfortunately have made up their minds even before this, but also just the notion of glorifying violence. They just shined a light on violence. They didn't say how glorifying it means to say how good it is. And I mean, obviously Caitlin's reporting is, as always, dead on. But when we hear that,
who wants a rose in this game?
I think hard for a lot of people to swallow that that's something that should be taken seriously.
Yeah, people aren't stupid. They get the difference between political speech and inciting a mob. Thank you both. I appreciate it. Close call is an understatement. What it's like for lawmakers to relive the terror of the insurrection. Senator Amy Klobuchar tells us. She's next.
Let's see if I have
As you were moving through that hallway, I paced it off. You were just 58 steps away from where the mob was amassing and where police were rushing to stop them. Cover it up. That's what I did when I started losing my hair.
Let's see. Are there any charms in this account? No.
Treatments that can't stop my hair loss.
All right.
No more covering
what
up.
can I plant?
Go to keeps.com to learn more. Tony here from Credit Repair.
I have 990. I guess I do.
Talk about credit. Let's go. Can your credit score impact your job? Oh, I know that one. No. Oh no. Cut the confusion.
Do I have another 2160? I guess I do.
Valentine's gift fast. I just don't know what to do. So
all right, let's go to the main part.
Wow. Seriously, wow.
9.4.
100flowers.com guaranteed.
I can plant one tree.
There's a better way to search for
apple tree.
At a place for mom. We offer
10 seconds. All right, what else? I can plant a nasturtium. And what else?
I could really see mom here, whether it's assisted living, memory care, or independent living. Your senior living advisor will be there every step of the way. Connect with a Place for Mom advisor today to get started.
Another nasturtium, another rose. Who should I give the rose to?
Guys, are you done with 2020?
Who's on this app and wants a rose?
Came along with it. Ready for a new you in the new year? Start fresh and lose the weight with Nutrisystem for Men.
I'll give Bob a rose if I can find his account.
You don't have to worry about cooking. The food is delivered right to my door.
Christian doesn't play this game. I'll give myself a rose because that's the only account I could find. All right. What else? I can plant an onion. And then I have 1.2K left. I can plant another onion. And then I have 1 credit and 3 waters. Who wants a water? To water the plants. I have to water the basil plants. The real basil plants. All right, 1. Oh, I should have taken the higher one, the higher credit. 2, I have 1 more water.
This is Fracture. Just upload an image, place your order, and it'll show up at your door beautifully printed directly on
3.
glass. And this isn't just another frame, not just another canvas.
And what level am I on?
This is a Fracture. Visit fractureme.com and print one today.
Greatest leaders cast long.
Wait, where's the one that was already ripe in like 30 seconds? Is that one done yet? Let me look. I guess I already got it.
History is more than money.
Inventory.
And it's never so black and white.
Let's check. What time is it? 7:29. All right. I want to watch.
Want to save hundreds on your wireless bill with Xfinity Mobile?
What was I looking for?
How about saving hundreds on the new Samsung Galaxy S10
Oh.
Ultra 5G?
9. The roses. 1,
Sure thing.
2,
And with fast nationwide
3,
included at no extra cost,
4,
we've got you covered.
5. Now I'm up to 9. Whoa.
Customer satisfaction.
98,909 out of 100,000. All right, I'm turning on. I know I'm probably talking to myself, but let me turn on the feed for.
But many don't get treated. Now there's Rome, the digital health clinic for men.
I'm pausing Don Lemon. Don Lemon, that broadcast is probably not re-airing tonight because he's on. Wait. I think he's on for 2 hours, so probably his second hour will re-air. Because normally this would already be re-airing, but it's live. All right. Wait, I'm on the wrong channel and the show started. Let's go. Inside Edition. Watch. We're taking a break for half an hour because Wolf wants to watch Inside Edition.
Or looking to purchase Oregon hot tub can help. Great prices on quality hot spring hot tubs.
Let me see. Did I get any more viewers? 27. It's very hard to get 250 live viewers.
Mar-a-Lago meltdown over the Trump legal team.
That's because they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Then, Valentine's Day super spreader.
The virus doesn't care that it's Valentine's Day.
And the Champa Bay boat parade.
Could it spark another COVID-19 surge?
Look at
Here, come here, Ruffle.
He's sure having a good time. Plus, does disinfecting surfaces really prevent COVID-19? Effective or just a waste of time?
The new research will surprise you.
It's going to say.
Star-Spangled Uproar. Millionaire owner Mark Cuban stops playing the national anthem at his NBA games. He knows full well this will create a firestorm of national controversy. Then, lucky to be alive, the woman who says she was left for dead by her NFL boyfriend.
Sipping his smoothie, and it's like, wow, you're still alive.
And the courtroom kitty giving America a big laugh. Can you hear me, Judge? I'm not a cat. Here he is. Who's ever happened to me? And Animal Farm at Inside Edition.
Here's me as a cat.
How do you do that?
Does anybody take me seriously?
Detox smoothie.
With Deborah Norville.
What about scent?
Everybody, and thank you for joining us. It is day 2 of Donald Trump's second impeachment trial, and his attorneys are not getting raves for how they are presenting their case. No one is said to be less impressed than the former president himself. Word is he is absolutely furious watching the proceedings from Mar-a-Lago. Stephen Fabian reports.
Trump's legal team is coming under fire from none other than Trump himself. He's apparently in a state of fury as he watches the proceedings on TV from Mar-a-Lago.
We thought that the House manager's presentation was well done.
He was deeply unhappy with that performance. He was borderline screaming.
Rambled, disorganized, embarrassed, terrible. I'm surprised they didn't fire him sometime during the afternoon. It was that bad.
I spoke to famed attorney Alan Dershowitz, who represented Trump at his first impeachment trial last year.
We know that President Trump likes his lawyers to be quote-unquote killers. Here you have this guy complimenting the other side.
It was, like Patrick Mahomes. He is in the Super Bowl, and he plays the worst game of the season. Here's a guy who's in the Super Bowl in front of the Senate, and he does his worst job as a lawyer.
One thing getting on Trump's nerve is Bruce Castor's ill-fitting suit.
You wouldn't blame him if he was upset, but it might have been the president's fault for firing his other attorneys who were doing all the preparing.
Many were also puzzled by Trump's other attorney, David Schoen, who put his hand on his head every time he took a sip of water. It's actually because of his Orthodox Jewish faith, which requires him to recite a blessing and cover his head whenever he eats or drinks. 2 Republican senators are under fire for showing outright contempt for the impeachment trial.
Senator Josh Hawley, a Republican from Missouri, sat up in the gallery with his feet up. Rand Paul doodling what appeared to be a drawing of the Capitol.
The Democrats today presented graphic messages from the rioters.
We were looking for Nancy Pelosi to shoot her in the brain,
and played audio of Capitol police officers pleading for help on their radios. We need some reinforcements up here now. They're starting to pull the gates down. They're throwing out poles at us.
This never-before-seen security camera footage shows the moment the rioters broke into the Capitol.
The second man through the window is wearing full tactical body armor and is carrying a baseball bat.
The trial is expected to last through the weekend and into next week. COVID infections are moving in the right direction, with fewer than 100,000 new cases in this country for the first time since November. But worries over the UK variant continue, as does the fear that the Super Bowl will lead to a spike because of all those parties. And Jim Murray reports, now added to the experts' worry list, Valentine's Day.
Nothing says Valentine's Day like a romantic dinner, but health experts are concerned this year Valentine's Day could trigger another super surge just 7 days after the Super Bowl. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is reopening thousands of restaurants for indoor dining for the first time in 2 months.
We'll open 25% indoor dining New York City Friday before Valentine's Day, so they'll have a big Valentine's Day.
LA restaurants reopened just 11 days ago, and there had been long lines of diners who miss a night out on the town. This upscale restaurant in Beverly Hills is charging $175 a person for their Valentine's Day menu that features oysters, lobster, and steak. But even at 50% capacity and eating outdoors, there are still fears you could catch the virus at restaurants. Infectious disease expert Anne Ramoyne has this advice.
The virus doesn't care that it's Valentine's Day. If you really want to show love to other people in your life, then you should probably stay apart for this Valentine's Day.
In Tampa, the Super Bowl champs' victory parade was held on the river to avoid large crowds on city streets. But thousands flocked in 80-degree weather to the waterfront.
People are lined up all down the river.
You can see how close the crowds of spectators are and how few are wearing masks. Look at this boat, packed with revelers. And there's the Buccaneers' Rob Gronkowski partying shirtless. Watch as Super Bowl hero Tom Brady tosses the Super Bowl trophy to another boat. That looks like the Tom Brady everyone knows, holding his daughter, Vivian. But this is Tom Brady a short time later. He sure looks like he's having a good time. Maybe too good.
And now, here is Kelly Ripa.
And Kelly Ripa hosted Live with Kelly and Ryan alone today, revealing that co-host Ryan Seacrest is ill.
Ryan is under the weather today. Don't panic. In these new COVID times, we always err on the side of caution.
She didn't say whether Ryan had tested positive.
It's hump day. Hope he's feeling better soon. Since the pandemic began, of course, everyone has been mindful of cleanliness. And now the CDC is saying that the virus is not as contagious on surfaces as originally believed. Amber Cogliano with more.
The onset of the pandemic last year touched off worldwide hysteria, with people wiping down every surface they came in contact with, particularly after the CDC warned that COVID-19 could live on surfaces for up to a month. Airlines began decontaminating planes after every flight. In New York City, late-night subway service was canceled so that trains could be sprayed overnight. But was it all overkill? Medical experts now tell us that they know the virus is spread from person to person, from coughing, sneezing, talking, or shouting, like those maskless fans at the Super Bowl. The CDC has recently amended its guidelines to say the virus spreads less commonly through contact with contaminated surfaces.
I think that's very important so people aren't in a trap of continuing practices which aren't worth the effort.
While COVID can live outside the body, it's very unlikely that someone can get the virus by touching a contaminated surface. But that doesn't mean we should let our guard down.
As an example, if somebody sneezed onto a table and you happen to touch that surface and then there was droplets there and in a short period of time touched your face, we're talking about possible transmission.
Thoroughly washing your hands remains a must, but experts like Dr. Jake Deutsch say the biggest COVID risk comes from respiratory droplets rather than things you may touch.
If you're sending all that effort to decontaminate surfaces of the things you're bringing into your house, but your mask isn't on correctly, you're really putting the effort in the wrong place.
Meantime, the CDC has released its first official guidance on masks. The agency says double masks are the safest. Their study found that wearing 2 tightly fitted masks reduced exposure by about 95%. There's new controversy today involving the national anthem at sporting events. The decision by Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks, to stop playing the anthem at home games is causing an uproar. Oh, say, can you see?
Billionaire Mark Cuban canceled the national anthem at Dallas Mavericks home games, and people are furious. Down the lane, ACV. At Monday's game,
Mark Cuban, what are you thinking?
were there, heard before the game. A video is played of
Thanks to the
Mavericks
6 new
players singing,
users,
"You are the
new
champions,"
viewers.
honoring frontline workers, but no national anthem. Mark Cuban's controversial move made the Mavericks the only team in the NBA to abandon the Star-Spangled Banner.
He is an egomaniac addicted to attention. The national anthem is not the law of the land.
On Fox Sports, broadcasters were divided. Today, enraged Maverick fans threatened to boycott. Get woke, go broke, won't spend another cent on Dallas Mavs, tweeted a Fort Worth cop, but others are expressing support. Jen Psaki was asked for President Biden's opinion.
I haven't spoken with the president about the decision by Mark Cuban, but I know he's incredibly proud to be an American and has great respect for the anthem and all that it represents.
Today, the NBA laid down the law. With NBA teams now in the process of welcoming fans back into their arenas, all teams will play the national anthem in keeping with long-standing league policy. In response, Cuban is backing down and now says the Mavericks will resume playing the anthem tonight, adding, "The hope is that those who feel passionate about the anthem being played will be just as passionate in listening to those who do not feel it represents them."
The NBA requires players to stand during the national anthem, but that rule hasn't been enforced in recent years. And after being delayed for a whole year, the Olympic Games will go ahead this summer in Tokyo. Today, the Olympic Committee released their COVID protocols, and some of them, frankly, will be difficult. For instance, they are calling for no cheering. Good luck with that.
Don't expect joyous hugs like this at the upcoming Olympics. A handbook of do's and don'ts for the Tokyo Games has just been released. One new rule: avoid unnecessary forms of physical contact such as hugs, high fives, and handshakes. And this:
no
support
cheering.
athletes by clapping and not singing or chanting. That's right, chants like this are forbidden.
You are going to be allowed to clap, guys. So, you're going to have to learn to be English. Beat Wimbledon,
The playbook also says make sure you have access to enough face masks to last throughout your stay in Japan. Everyone is responsible for their own supply. We spoke to Team USA indoor volleyball Olympian Rachel Adams.
It's definitely going to be weird because it's your innate instinct to want to just bring your teammates in for a hug, and you're going to have to constantly keep pulling back and oh, okay, reel it back, don't touch each other, and it kind of will kill the vibe for sure.
And star swimmer Ryan Lochte gave us his take on the new rules.
You're in a different world once you win.
New Moon's tomorrow.
Just oh my gosh, yes. And you're so excited, and you want that feeling of touching your teammates, being like, yes, giving them a hug. But now we just have to be more careful with everything that we do now.
Methylated folate.
Expect to announce by spring whether fans will be allowed into the stadium for the games. Games kick off in July. Now the virtual moment that is giving the nation a much-needed laugh. You've probably heard about the lawyer who couldn't turn off his camera filter and popped up in court as a cat. Well, now the lawyer is speaking out with his filter off.
It's the faux pas everyone is talking about. A lawyer who didn't realize a Zoom court hearing had turned him into a cat.
Can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
The clip is giving the world a much-needed laugh.
The courtroom sketch artist is like, didn't think I'd be drawing whiskers today.
It happened during a civil hearing in Texas that took place virtually because of the pandemic. Watch as the cat's eyes dart around, mimicking the lawyer's facial expressions.
I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
So, if he's not a cat, then who is he? His name is Rod Ponton, and this is what he really looks like.
First time it's ever happened to me, and I'm of a certain age. I'm not as computer literate, perhaps, as you are, but I didn't know that these cat filters were on the computer.
He says he was actually using his secretary's computer. She has a young daughter, which explains the cat filter. How did you hear that it had been released?
My phone's blowing up with phone calls from around the country. I didn't know if I was in trouble or something was going wrong or what was happening.
The judge overseeing the case, Roy Ferguson, got a kick out of it and actually posted the clip on social media. Was it hard keeping a straight face?
I will neither admit nor deny as to whether I had a straight face at that particular moment. The camera was off for a reason.
That's right. The judge was supposed to be in the top left box, but he didn't want to be seen cracking up. Turning yourself into a virtual cat or any other animal for that matter is actually quite simple. Just download the app Snap Camera to your computer and it automatically syncs with Zoom. Then
Snap Camera?
Click on the filter you want, and there you have it.
Now
I'm a fish. I asked my colleagues to join in on the fun. Hello, everyone. Hi. Hi, everybody.
What do you think about that? Could anybody take me seriously?
Attorney Ponton says he's taking it all in stride and glad his honest mistake is making people happy.
If everybody's going to get a laugh, I'll let them have a laugh at my expense. I think the world needs a little bit of humor now after the rough year we've had. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
We'll be right back.
Next, lucky to be alive, the woman who says she was left for dead by her NFL boyfriend.
Sipping his smoothie, and it's like, wow, you're still alive.
Plus, mad as hell, Kim Kardashian. Did her daughter really need this? Inside Edition with Deborah Norville.
All right, okay, I have 32 live views. I need 250 to get the HAPS challenge.
Take your ulcerative colitis treatment in a different direction. Talk to your doctor.
I'm gonna, like,
a pill, not an injection or infusion.
I'm not usually about the numbers, but once a week I would like to get the HAPS challenge, so I'm tired. I've already said that 3 times on my broadcast. It could be, well, let me mute myself and check and see if I need my allergy medicine. Let me mute myself. I'm just going to mute myself for a second.
Most popular.
I'm going to try my allergy medicine.
As low as $3.99 only during Bedmart's President's
But I might have to
Beef
mute you to go grab it.
What's your heart's desire? How about winning a brand new Chevy Camaro, Chevy Silverado, or $50,000 in cash? Coyote Club members receive 1 free entry. Earn more playing your favorite
Where are you?
game.
Is my phone charged enough that you could help me get some views after this? Alright.
3 all-new episodes of Wednesday's most watched dramas. Your life is precious, and you need to fight for it.
Okay. Can I make some action?
No, wait. Who is it?
I also have this drink. I don't know if it's spoiled because it didn't end up in the refrigerator. I'm going to check. Alright, hold on.
An all-new Chicago Wednesday, tonight on NBC. You've heard the shocking claim. No tuna in a tuna sandwich.
Yeah, then what the hell was in there?
Next week's edition.
Is there tuna in Subway's tuna sandwiches?
The Inside Addiction investigation.
How could you not have tuna in tuna?
Subway says it's tuna. 1-hour lab test show. Next Inside Edition.
Her claims led to an NFL player being cut from the team. She says she was beaten and choked by the 300-pound offensive lineman. And we should warn you, the pictures of her injuries are graphic.
27
11-year-old Aaliyah Taylor says she suspected something was up when her boyfriend texted her that he had compulsively shaved off his long locks.
He just loved his long hair, refused to cut it.
But nothing prepared her for the vicious assault the Seattle Seahawks' Chad Wheeler allegedly unleashed on her when she got home.
He immediately grabbed my neck.
Now she's speaking exclusively with CBS News correspondent Jerika Duncan.
He stood up and he told me to bow down, and I asked him why, and he didn't respond. He just told me to bow down again, and I told him no. He threw me on the bed, and I remember looking up at him and asking him, "Please stop, Chad. It's me." And I just immediately knew the look in his eyes. That was it.
She says she blacked out during the beating. When she awoke, she looked like this, bloodied and bruised.
I remember getting up and running to the bathroom. Chad was standing by the bed, by the doorway, and he was sipping his smoothie. I was like, "Wow, you're still alive."
Taylor locked herself in a bathroom and made a whispered call to 911. It took 3 police officers to subdue the 6'7" Wheeler. He has pled not guilty. On Twitter, Wheeler said he was having a mental health episode. He suffers from bipolar disorder and was in a manic episode when he beat Taylor. Nearly 3 weeks after the attack, Taylor's right eye is still healing.
I have bolts and a steel plate I'm going to have forever in my arm. I'm going to have to deal with this the rest of my life.
If convicted, Wheeler faces 8 to 12 years in prison. He has pled not guilty. When we come back, Mama Bear Kim Kardashian defends her daughter's artistic skills.
Ashley Home Store's biggest President's Day sale ever is going on now. Right now, shop incredible limited-time doorbuster deals. Or get no-interest financing for 6 years. Ashley Home Store. This is home. Freshness and softness you never forget. With Do you struggle to open or close your windows? Are they drafty or leaky? Are you constantly adjusting your thermostat only to have your energy bill skyrocket? Do you simply deal with fog glass and leaking windows? Hi, I'm Matt Minster. If you're nodding your head yes, Renewal by Andersen is your best solution. Renewal by Andersen is the full-service replacement division of Andersen Windows, the most recommended family of window brands in America. They custom build and install your windows for a weather-tight.
All right, I'm muting you guys for a second. All right, I'm back. I'm checking this food that I left not refrigerated, but I'm smelling it. I don't see, I'm looking at it. It looks like a fruit smoothie, and
reactions can occur, including anaphylaxis, which is severe. Tell your doctor about new or worsening eye problems, such as eye pain or vision changes or parasitic infection. If you take asthma medicines, don't change or stop them without talking to your doctor. So help heal your skin from within and talk to your eczema specialist about Dupixent. If your financial situation has changed, we may be able to help.
Still to come, a big scaredy cat.
Subaru is Kelly Blue Book's most trusted brand for 6 years.
It looks like a fruit smoothie, and it still feels cold, even though it wasn't refrigerated. Where is a spoon? I don't think it. I'm going to taste it and see what it is. I looked at it with the flashlight on my phone, and I don't see any mold. I'm going to taste it. It tastes weird, but it tastes like...
Obviously, I've not been to the zoo since.
I'm tasting it again.
What? Switch to Progressive and you can save hundreds. You know, like the sign says.
I think it's some kind of fruit,
This is the kind of card that
but I don't know what kind.
People with Medicare are getting all-in-one coverage for their doctor visits, hospital care, prescription drugs, and more. This kind of insurance, called Medicare Part C, may also cover dental care, eyeglasses,
maybe raspberries,
fitness programs, vitamins, even healthy meals and rides to the doctor. With this kind of coverage, you do not need a Medicare supplement insurance plan. You will access your benefits through your Medicare Part C plan for one low and oftentimes $0 monthly plan premium. You deserve to get the most from your Medicare benefits. Call now for free information that may help you get more coverage for less money. There is no obligation to enroll, whether for yourself or someone.
I brought a little orange over here, but I'm definitely not eating a little orange with this fruit. Where did it even go?
Subaru Outback is an IIHS top safety pick for 2020. And right now at Gresham Subaru, get financing as low as 0% for 63 months on Outback and other select models, plus a free lifetime limited warranty. See GreshamSubaru.com.
When can you get the vaccine? What's the plan for storing it? What about the side effects?
You may have a low-grade fever or a headache.
We answer your questions and address your concerns so you can feel confident, not confused. Exclusive Verify reports on...
I think I'm going to have a brownie because I think I've had enough of
Finally
this.
today, it's not as bad as it sounds.
What's all that screaming? Is someone in trouble? Nope, it's just a cowardly husky who really hates bath time.
The Bath Time Blues. That's Inside Edition for today. I'm Deborah Norville. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Prescribed by a healthcare professional in the comfort of home.
All right.
You'll receive your medication.
Adventures in Dining. Someone brought me this from Food Not Bombs, which is they have food like for people that could use some food.
New video from the former president's second impeachment trial showing how lucky lawmakers were to escape with their lives. House managers releasing never-before-seen surveillance footage of senators being evacuated from the chamber as a mob of rioters were just feet away, trying to break in. One of those evacuating, Senator Amy Klobuchar, who you can see here, there she is right there in the purple, and she joins me now. Senator, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're okay. I'm glad you and all of your colleagues. I can't imagine how emotional it was for you guys as you watch and the other senators
Where's the orange that I had?
Feet of the mob. What was it like for you seeing that today? Did you realize that before, just how close you were to that mob?
No, but I don't consider us lucky. We were blessed because people saved our lives, and those people were those police officers. And literally, when you see that video of the one officer writhing in pain, shrieking, to think that he literally put his own body between this angry mob and us to save us. He defended our democracy. He was willing to put his body in between us and them, as were so many other officers, over 100 of them injured. And Donald Trump wouldn't even send a tweet to do it when his own vice president was asking for help, when his family members. And to me, it was the police officers that kept us safe, and they were the victims in these cases.
I've been speaking, you're right, I've been speaking to some of the officers, and they said that they would see some of them had, the gas masks, others did not, and they said once they would get overcome, come back in, throw some water on their faces from water bottles, and go right back into the action. I mean, it was just unbelievable.
A number of them had cuts on their face that would come to see us, and I think it was something that if people didn't know it before, they sure know it after they watch the videos today.
Amen. Let's talk more about watching that video, because Senator Susan Collins says during the new videos that the chamber was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. Senator, could you see how Republicans reacted when they saw this new footage?
She's right about that. Everyone was engaged, watching, and I just hope it changes some of their minds and some of their hearts. That's what trials are about. And while we had that vote yesterday, which established once and for all that, yes, you can impeach a president after he leaves office, that there's no January exemption in the U.S. Constitution, this is a different story now. The law of the case has been set. It is very clear, even if they didn't vote for going forward, we are now going forward. So they have a different set of responsibilities now and a decision to make. And I don't know how you can watch that video without seeing the effect of what he did. He incited, we all know he incited them to go down the mall with his words and telling them to go wild, predicting the date, telling them what to do. But it's also what he didn't do. I think that was a lot about
damn
today, the fact
thing
that
to stop it.
Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and others that were calling in the National Guard, Vice President Pence, not Donald Trump, that it was the Governor Christie and Kevin McCarthy going on Fox saying that he should do something about it and making very clear that they felt that it was wrong and people had to leave the Capitol immediately, that they were going to be arrested. Other people were trying to fill the void, but those people at the Capitol would only listen to Donald Trump.
Tonight, Senator Lindsey Graham saying this about House managers, the House managers' presentation, said the legal theory they have is absurd, that somehow that Trump's a secret member of the Proud Boys. That what the fuck? The case Democrats are making, but it sounds like he and many other Republicans, many of those colleagues are signaling that they still stand with Trump.
Yeah, I don't think he was one of the votes that people thought that we could get, but I think that their case was very clear. They showed how he provoked this. They showed the harm that he caused, and as you began your program today, they talked about how he had literally groomed this group of people with the big lies, with the words, this is a steal, with what he did to local election officials, all leading up to it, even before the election, because he knew very well that he was most likely going to lose.
Where's my Gatorade?
Something that was leading to this moment in time where he finally just told them, go wild, go march down Pennsylvania Avenue, and kept saying as it went on, you are patriots, a word he even used when the whole thing was over, when there was still blood on the floor.
And we love you. Yeah. Thank you very much, Senator.
All right.
Again,
thank you.
Glad that you're safe. Thanks. We'll see you soon. Yeah.
Thank you.
Senator Tim Scott says, at best, 6 Republicans will vote to convict Donald Trump. Why isn't there more outrage coming from the GOP when they're seeing evidence like this?
Can't find it.
They're out there, working day and night to breach your data and take what you want. Ransomware, lockdowns, security data attacks. It's kind of scary if you think about it. Or you could not think about it at all. This is autonomous cybersecurity. This is Sentinel-1.
Alright, did anyone else come in? No, I'm still at 32. I'm gonna see if Woof Woof wants to come on my broadcast. I'm gonna get a ginger beer, because I can't find the Gatorade. I'm gonna mute you for a second. Okay, I'm back. I'll check my phone. I'm having my allergy medicine with a ginger beer. This Hot Lips Real Root Soda ginger ale, it actually has lemon juice in it.
Your gift will show our kids they're loved. Homeless kids are afraid and alone with nowhere else to turn.
You want to know that there's somewhere you can go that's safe. So the Covenant House did that for us.
Please call now with your gift of.
All right, I'm going to write down what time I took my medicine. High D, Claritin, and Sudafed.
Please don't wait. In our national crisis, your gift is the lifeline a child needs. Please call or go online to safeplacetosleep.org now. Thank you for saving precious lives.
I guess Jennifer Ashton doesn't have to quarantine again because she's fully vaccinated, but they said you still have to quarantine. Yesterday she said that until they she said that on Live with Kelly until the CDC released new recommendations, which they released today. So instead of another 10 or 14 days, I guess she's okay now to not quarantine as long as she wears a mask and social distances.
There's a killer out there. This is there's something wrong with that mask. Even are you okay, Understatement? Just a normal human.
Resident Alien, Wednesdays at 10 on Sci-Fi. Set your DVR.
All right.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if.
What are we up to? 32 viewers in how long? 2 hours and 33 minutes. I'm going to ask people on Twitter to click on my
When
link.
it comes to quality home appliances, nobody beats Pasco, Oregon's original family-owned appliance retailer.
Let me check this
For more than
message.
140 years, the Cronin family's been distributing the finest home appliances throughout the Pacific Northwest. Today, that tradition continues at Pasco, your home for the best selection of name brand appliances at the absolute lowest prices. In fact, when it comes to selection, nobody offers you more than Pasco. Selection, price, and a family's 140-year tradition for excellence. Get it all at Pasco, on the corner of Northwest 14th and Davis.
I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and this is CNN. There were people, insurrectionists, who attempted to affect the peaceful transfer of power. And that should give anyone who loves our republic great pause.
Senator Bill Cassidy, one of only 6 Republicans to go on record saying the trial is constitutional. And it's important to remember that senators are not only sitting as jurors, they're also witnesses to the deadly violence at the Capitol. House Democrats laying out a damning case against the former president, using his own words, tweets, and chilling video. I want to bring now CNN's senior political reporter, Mia Malika Henderson, and political commentator, Anna Navarro. Good evening to both of you. Thank you so much for joining. And I'm going to start with you because I know a lot of folks have been wondering, how can any Republican senator ignore the mountain of evidence, how Officer Goodman saved Senator Mitt Romney's life, how close the mob was to Pence, all the evidence showing how Trump incited a violent attack and did nothing to stop it? I don't expect otherwise. Maybe I'm a pessimist, but people are wondering, how can they do it?
I'm wondering that. Look, it's incomprehensible. Listen, there's some Republican senators who are hopeless, right? Who are complicit. People like Ted Cruz, people like Josh Hawley. Ted Cruz was tweeting about breast milk, if you can believe it, during the trial. But I think there's a lot of adults in the room, and I know some of these people personally. They have children, they have grandchildren, they have spouses, and I'm not sure how they were not shaken to the core by seeing how close those children came to being fatherless or motherless today. I recognize the back of Rick Scott's head. He's got children and grandchildren, and he's saying that this trial is a waste of time. How could he possibly say that? History needs to see what happened, and Republicans need to act not like cult members. They need to act like Americans. They need to act like adults. But I think it's incumbent on people like Mitch McConnell and John Cornyn, people like Rob Portman, to act, to speak up. Forget the ones that are the lost cause, but there has got to be enough Republicans up there who respect the law enforcement officers who put their bodies between them and those senators, who kept them safe. They owe their lives to those people. And Don, think about the punishment we're talking about. We're not talking about sending Trump to jail. We're not talking about removing him from office. We're not talking about taking away his property. We are simply talking about setting the record right for history. We are talking about
that. I think it's about for them preserving a way of life that they are used to, and they see Trump as the vessel to that. I think that's what this is really all about. It's not really about any of that. They've already made up their minds. They've made up their minds throughout this entire 5-year process of Donald Trump. I just think, listen, Nia, maybe I'm wrong, but listen, even there's an incredible whataboutism, Roy Blunt, comparing it to what happened over the summer in Seattle and Portland. A disgraceful example of whataboutism. I think there's, talking about what happened to this and a black mob and a white mob. It's just, this is beyond them having any sort of redemption. This is about preserving a way of life. That's how I feel.
Listen, I think this has been a long time coming with this president. He set up this scenario where he was telling his followers from the moment he was beginning his ascent to the White House that he was there to protect them from this diversifying America that he saw as dangerous, and they saw as dangerous too. And so there began the attachment of his followers to Donald Trump. And listen, the Republican Party has trafficked in this rhetoric for years, even before Donald Trump. So it was a party that was primed to be taken over by Donald Trump. It wasn't even much of a hostile takeover. So you see the results of that here with this violent white mob who was lied to by Donald Trump and told that black and brown people have stolen their country from them. And that is what has made them so enraged. And I think you are going to have Republican senators there who rely on this procedural argument and not really talk about the roots that are going on here, the roots of racism in this country, the roots of white grievance and white rage. White rage has been such a powerful force in shaping this country's history and culture going back hundreds and hundreds of years. And I think that's what we're seeing now. We don't talk about it a lot. We don't like to really talk about whiteness and the way that we talk about blackness and in black culture. If that were a black mob, we would be talking about black culture and absent black fathers and hip hop culture and all sorts of things and black leaders. But here we sort of erase the whiteness of the mobsters there, the white mob. We erase it, and in that way, I think we're doing ourselves a real disservice in failing to name the thing, to name what actually is going on.
Because nobody's saying there's absent father and absent, fathers, and maybe it's country music, or maybe it's hip hop because white kids listen to hip hop more than anybody else. No one is saying any of those things are right because whiteness is perceived as the norm in American society, not the anomaly, not something that is odd. But many Republicans are signaling that they plan to acquit. Vote to acquit, pointing to the fact that Trump is no longer in office. Again, that's that procedural thing that you're talking about. But come on, if he was still president, do you think they'd vote to convict him?
Well, they had that chance and they passed on it, right? I mean, they kicked it to, Biden's administration. Mitch McConnell passed on that opportunity. This happened on January 6th. As we're seeing, this trial looks like it's going to happen pretty quickly over just a couple of days. So they could have moved to not only impeach him, but move it over to the Senate and convict him if they wanted to. It's not something they wanted to do. And we've seen pretty immediately, even after those impeachment articles landed over in the Senate, they started talking about this procedural argument. Listen, this is the party of Trump. They are Trumpists. I don't even think it's, sort of a political expediency thing at this point. They're Trumpers, and they have been.
I got to go, Anna.
I have to tell you something. That excuse enrages me so much because it is nothing but cowardice, cowardice. Listen, if you were in a court of law and the issue of venue, of jurisdiction had been decided, any juror would have to then decide on the case, on the merits of the case.
Right.
They are hiding behind this because they can't find their spines.
Yes.
Their spines are somewhere in Mar-a-Lago to say the truth and to be able to reckon with what they have done and how they what happened on January 6th.
Right. It being a legitimate process is a force of law behind it. It's already been deemed that, and they have to take that into consideration that they're not doing their duties as lawmakers. Thank you both. We'll be right back.
One viewer on Twitch, but it's the first day I connected Twitch. And how many viewers do I have on Twitch? One. And how many people do I have on Twitch? But it's the first day I connected Twitch. My channel. Alright. I only have 4 followers. Alright. Alright, let me put a comment on YouTube.
And this isn't just another frame, not just another canvas.
YouTube.
This is new. This is a fracture.
Periscope. Am I missing anything?
Jackson Hewitt knows your job description may have changed this year to say account
live.
Third grade teacher and senior vice job walker. Don't ask tax preparer. Let Jackson Hewitt do it for you, so you can be certain your taxes are done right. Guaranteed.
YouTube. All right. How many people are? Periscope. All right. Missing anything? Yeah, I'm missing Woof Woof on screen. Woof Woof, I'll let you go on screen in a minute. Let me just see. I shared it on Twitter. What about Periscope? What else am I missing? Periscope? Do nothing for 30 seconds. Oh, I forgot to breathe.
Comb. Download the free app now.
What did I say? I said Periscope.
Wisdom which is everything that I could have imagined.
We decided, you know what? Either we could just wait longer or say, let's make it real now.
Periscope. Where is Periscope on my phone?
At Casper, we're delivering better sleep to homes everywhere. With a mattress so supportive and comfortable.
Periscope. Hello, where are you?
By US News. So wherever home is for you.
Periscope.
So like great sleep.
I'm not seeing it. There's so many icons in this phone. Oh, the feed is a half an hour behind right now, in case anyone's wondering. All of the many people who are listening with me.
Whichever the cause, kaopectate is your
Move to Twitter. Who's live? The Voice, Wild Earth, Trump impeachment day 2, Montez. What is that? I keep getting this notice at the top, but it goes away before I can actually read it. Go to Twitch, Auburn Music, Weekly Web Concert featuring who? Featuring Mac who? Featuring Mac Macy James. Follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitch. Okay? Latest coronavirus. Listen with me. Alright. Auburn Music Weekly Web Concert featuring who? One viewer. Is that me? Let me put this notice. Paste. Help me get 250 live views by clicking on my live thing.
I just hear a little sensor, and that's it.
Where's the
every 5 minutes, and I can also get it on my smartphone.
It's totally private.
what is that? Where's the Facebook notice? Hello from Portland.
It's amazing.
Really helps you take control of your life.
Oh, should I share it out on Periscope and see if that does anything? I got. Hello. Share from. Share via what? Share via. If I share via Haps, what will that do? It's probably going to say I'm not eligible. Oh, should I share it out on Periscope and see if that does anything? I got. Hello.
So we're back with senior political commentator Doug Jones, a former U.S. Senator.
It wouldn't let me share
Senator,
it.
thank you so much for joining. As a former
sharing is limited to
give me
certain
an
viewers.
element of the Democrats'
Users
case
right
as they
now.
laid it out.
Oh, they're connecting the dots, Don. I mean, from the very beginning, that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to show that this whole crowd was orchestrated. It was orchestrated for weeks and a couple of months in advance, where the stop the steal argument gained momentum by the president. And they connected those dots to make sure that what happened on January 6th was the culmination. That was not the entire case. That's the biggest thing that I think they've done a very, very good job of showing how the president really got this crowd, invited this crowd, knew the kind of crowd he was going to be there. He did not have to say, go try and hang Mike Pence. He knew this crowd. It was his crowd. He got them there. And that's how they made this case, I think, so strong.
So speaking of knowing the crowd, managers also making the case, Senator, that Trump knew people in the crowd, like the Proud Boys, were capable of violence, showing them attacking others after the Million MAGA March in December. Why is it so important to draw that connection?
I think it's important because of the violence that we know that the Proud Boys and others are capable of. Remember, there's one thing that hadn't been done yet, and I don't know if the House managers will do it, but that's, the same thing kind of happened in Michigan. And the president at that point tweeted out his support for those protesters that stormed the Capitol in Michigan. And so when, those are just kind of dog whistle politics. Those are dog whistle kind of tweets that are just basically telegraphing to violent extremists, you've got a green light. We want you to come here on January 6th. It's going to be wild. Let's do what we can, and then we're going to march. The other thing that's really important is the White House intervened in that permit to allow them to go to the Capitol. That was not originally supposed to happen.
Manager Plaskett also saying today that the date for the rally was changed after Trump told his supporters to come on January 6th. It had been scheduled for after the inauguration. Does that tell you anything?
Well, it tells me, again, he is orchestrating this crowd. That's the main thing. From the very beginning, he is orchestrating this crowd. He wanted this crowd on the day that Congress was going to be counting these ballots, doing their constitutional duty. I keep thinking that when he was talking about marching to the Capitol, what is it his lawyers are going to say he wanted them to do? Was they just supposed to stand around the Capitol and sing songs or just shout? He knew that when he told them to go to the Capitol, there was something going to happen. You don't just go to the Capitol and stand on the lawn. There was something that was going to happen, and it's why, by the way, he didn't go. He said he was going to go, and he didn't do it.
Yeah. Senator, our time is short tonight. We had so much to get in. I'm sure you'll understand, and we'll have you back soon. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it.
The LinkedIn isn't sharing.
My pleasure, Don.
So thank you for watching, everyone. Our live coverage of the former President Donald Trump's second impeachment trial continues with Anderson Cooper. But first, here's a look at the new CNN original series.
That's what they're going to rerun is Anderson Cooper. At 8, 9, they're going to rerun it. What? I think they're going to rerun the 8 and 9 at 11 and 12. Or I don't know. They're going to run 1 hour of Anderson Cooper and 1 hour of Chris Cuomo. They're going to rerun, and that's it. Vince is live at the sunset. Should I invite Vince into my broadcast to get some more viewers in here? I don't even know if that was which Vince that was. Share live. Share via. It's not letting me share it to LinkedIn. I don't know if it's my phone or the app. Let me check.
The man who found a way.
Sharing a post. Oh, there. Trial.b. What does trial.b even mean? I'm going to have to click on that. What? Trial.b. I'm going to paste. Help me get 250 live views by clicking on my live stream. Thanks. Haps Challenge. Let's see if trial.b even links it to Haps. Or links it to Periscope. Let me check what I just did. New studio digs at C.S. Murphy Art. I'm not normally a numbers person. I'm only trying to get up to 250 because that's the challenge. For 8 weeks. Alright, let me go look at LinkedIn. Blurred vision. I'm getting blurred vision. Let's see if my allergy medicine helps with that. Haps. I could invite people into my broadcast. Activity. Vince Guzman, let's see what happens here. Can I invite myself into my own broadcast? Well, I've already done that. I'll invite Woof Woof. Woof Woof, do you want to go live in my broadcast? I know you're waiting patiently, and I know you still want your cheesecake, and I know that the free offer expires tomorrow. I got it. It was my grandmother's birthday tomorrow, so you might be able to get your cheesecake. I'll see. I think they're closed now, so you have to wait till tomorrow. I should check my UpLive game offline because you can't do a broadcast. Let me Let me see. I was going to check LinkedIn and put my Haps invite code on there. Let me see. Where's LinkedIn? I have so many apps that I can't even find the one I'm looking for. They're supposed to be organized. Clubhouse, Calm. I do that 30-second breathing when they do it on TV.
Leaf filter can be installed on your existing gutters. The 3-piece system filters out leaves and debris, but allows snow melt and water to
LinkedIn, there. Let me try this.
You'll never worry about your gutters again, which is safer for everyone. So, it may be winter, but it's the perfect time to get leaf filter.
My network.
We're staying warm and we're ready to help.
Excuse me, what is this event I'm being invited to?
Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or go to getleaffilter.com for your free estimate. Plus, save 15% and get an additional $100 off during our winter special.
Why Libby?
She said, Mom, we can't find Libby.
Why Abby?
I said, are they alive?
Who's next? As poor as this picture is, somebody else. The Delphi Murders, a 2-night event, starts Sunday at 10 on HLN.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce a new channel for us to be. For our heroes and our heroes bringing light to the few. Take stage, uproot, and be you. Romanticize and materialize the reality of our soulful lives. Run to the river, keep to the beat.
What's the event? Crowdfunding. How much are the tickets?
This is our story.
Right now is a great time to buy a new home. So what can give you a competitive edge? Rocket can. A verified approval from Rocket Mortgage helps your offer stand out. Rocket Technology provides
if it's duration 1 day, but it's listed for 2 days.
And credit, giving sellers greater confidence in you and your offer. So when you need the speed, ease, and confidence to buy the home that's right for you, Rocket can. Visit rocketmortgage.com or call us today.
Stanley Tucci, Searching for Italy, Sunday at 9 on CNN.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Our Time, the #1 dating site for people over 50.
Making pizza with someone who's as into it as me? What could be better?
Looking to meet people over 50? It's easy. Open laptop, go to ourtime.com, start for free. The #1 dating site for people over 50.
Good evening. If Senate Republicans really want to exonerate the 45th President of the United States of inciting the insurrection that might have killed the Speaker of the House, the Vice President, and perhaps many of them as well, they'll have to close their eyes a lot. More tonight than ever after House impeachment managers spent the day confronting them with a minute-by-minute recreation of it all. Using new video and audio, they painted a devastating picture. As for the former president's defenders, the Washington Post's E.J. Dionne put it this way in his new column tonight: those who vote to acquit the former president will now own it all. There's new reporting tonight on what those senators are signaling they'll do. First, though, CNN Jeff Zeleny on what they saw today.
The rioters were on the hunt for Vice President Mike Pence. And for the first time today, the images revealed the Secret Service detail rushing him, his family, and aides down a back stairwell of the breached Capitol, barely escaping the mob.
You can see Vice President Pence and his family quickly move down the stairs. The Vice President turns around briefly as he's headed down. You can hear the mob calling for the death of the Vice President of the United States.
On the other side of the Capitol, the target was Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, shut up.
The Capitol Police deemed the threat so dangerous that they evacuated her entirely from the Capitol complex, rushing her to a secure off-site location. We know from the rioters themselves that
blizzard
if they had
warning.
found Speaker Pelosi, they would have killed her.
Columbia River
This
Gorge.
never-before-seen video from both inside and outside the Capitol lay out in the greatest detail yet a timeline of the siege on January 6th. Officer Eugene Goodman, a shining hero of that day, saving Senator Mitt Romney, approaching him in the hallway just off the Senate floor, instructing him to turn around to escape coming face-to-face with the insurrectionists, and Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer and his security detail, abruptly turning back and nearly running away after their passage to safety was blocked in the bowels of the Capitol. The silent security footage, unveiled by House prosecutors for the first time, spoke volumes and offered a new perspective of democracy under attack. Stacey Plaskett, one of the impeachment managers, helped narrate the chilling images for senators who were certifying the Electoral College vote that day, and now must decide whether to convict or acquit President Trump.
They were coming at the urging of Donald Trump to keep Congress, a separate branch of government, from certifying the results of a presidential election.
She and other House prosecutors offered a new soundtrack, this time with newly unveiled police radio traffic, to show how the attack escalated.
This is now effectively a riot. Declaring a riot.
Pelosi was taken to safety, while her aides rushed into a conference room in the speaker suite of the offices on the front of the Capitol. The rioters tried to break into that room, pushing again and again before moving on, as members of Congress took steps to hide.
Take your pins off.
Pins off. The other end of that hallway, where the mob is amassed and the officers are rushing to protect you.
The dramatic presentation was aimed at the jurors, all 100 senators who will decide whether Trump incited the riot. Yet it also was for history, to chronicle the insurrection for the ages.
Because the truth is, this attack never would have happened but for Donald Trump. And so they came, draped in Trump's flag, and used our flag, the American flag, to batter and to bludgeon.
Lead impeachment manager Jamie Raskin called it a meticulous and well-orchestrated plan, long in the works by Trump and his allies.
The evidence will be for you to see and hear and digest. The evidence will show you that ex-President Trump was no innocent bystander.
Trump's own words echoed through the Senate chamber, as prosecutors sought to use the former president's rhetoric to show his intent to incite the riot.
We're not going to let this election be taken away from us. That's the only way they're going to win it.
But once the deadly Capitol siege was underway, it was his silence that prosecutors said was damning.
Even when President Trump knew what his words were causing, he didn't do any of those things to stop the crowd. In fact, he did the opposite. He fueled the fire.
CNN Jeff Zeleny joins us now from Capitol Hill. Did any of what we saw today move the impeachment managers closer to proving their case with Senate Republicans? And any chance we'll see witnesses?
Anderson, there was no question that senators on both sides were moved by the arguments. Republicans said they were moved as well. They found them emotional. They found them compelling. But at the end of the day, our team here talked to so many Republican senators, and there are still many who say, look, they do not believe that the president actually caused this riot. They are troubled by the riot. They remember, what happened in those hours. But even the senators who lived through this were seeing some of these things for the first time. They did not realize what was happening in other parts of this building. But at the end of the day, there is still not a groundswell toward convicting him. As for witnesses, it looks like the House impeachment managers are largely relying on these new Syrian videotapes and the audio tapes as well. So at this point, it doesn't look like witnesses, but they still have 8 more hours to make their case, and then the president's lawyers have their turn.
Excellent. Thanks very much. Perspective now from senior political commentator and former top Obama advisor David Axelrod. Also someone with plenty of experience building prosecution cases, former New Jersey Attorney General, former federal prosecutor, and CNN legal analyst, Ann Milgram. And you prosecuted cases at the federal, state, local level. For you, today was, well, how would you describe what you heard today from the House managers?
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible day, and it was, I think, a painful day to sit back and to watch this and to really take in the 360 of what happened on January 6th. Up until today, I think I'd read a lot about it. I'd seen pictures of different pieces of it, but this was the first time it was really brought home all together. And what kept going through my head, Anderson, was what Fiona Hill said shortly after January 6th, which was that this was an attempted self-coup, that Donald Trump was trying to preserve his power and stay in power by any means that he possibly could. It was ultimately not successful, but as I watched that today, all I could think is just how close he came and how much he orchestrated this, really, as the House manager showed, starting in June and going through January 6th. And so I thought the presentation was masterful. I think there's a lot for us to talk about and a lot still to come, but it was also very, very painful to watch.
David, I mean, a number of the Republican senators came out of the chamber today, acknowledged what they saw was chilling, as Jeff Zeleny said, but minds remain unchanged. Senator Lindsey Graham called the impeachment manager's legal argument, quote, absurd, went on to say, quote, I think there's more votes for acquittal after today than there was yesterday. Does that make sense to you?
Clearly not. I mean, let's dismiss Lindsey Graham for what he is now. He's like a carnival barker for Donald Trump. But look, this is different than what Ann is accustomed to. This is not a judicial proceeding, and the jurors are not impartial jurors. They're partisan politicians, and 45 of them, or 44 of them, I should say, have kind of signaled which way they're going to go with their vote on whether this trial should proceed. So I don't expect that. I think that the case was devastating today for the reasons that Ann said. The description of what happened that day was absolutely riveting and troubling. But really, the case they built about what Donald Trump did to provoke that day, going back to June, and how little he did once the insurrection was underway to try and stop it, were absolutely damning when you consider what the oath of the President of the United States is, to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. All that said, this is a political proceeding, and I expect that most of these Republicans are going to stay right where they are. And the idea that Democrats, no matter how compelling their final day is, are going to switch and that you're going to get to 17, I think that's highly unlikely.
And I mean, it was fascinating. The impeachment manager spent a lot of time today praising the actions of Republicans, Mike Pence, Georgia election officials, even the Attorney General at the time, William Barr, and the roles that they played in upholding the election. It was interesting because essentially the message was, you too can do the right thing. They said Mike Pence did the right thing. He was a patriot. Do you think that made for an effective argument?
Yeah, I did think it was effective. I thought one of the things Representative Swalwell did was first he said, look, there were a lot of people at that rally who weren't involved in the insurrection, and we should separate those two groups. And then they made the effort to really separate out Mike Pence from Donald Trump and say, look, this is a conservative. This is someone essentially with whom we disagree on a lot of things. But at the end of the day, we all take this oath to the United States government, as David said, to protect. And Mike Pence did the right thing when push came to shove, and Donald Trump did not. And so I thought it was effective. And one of the things I thought was really effective, Anderson, is that the House impeachment managers, they weren't telling people the conclusion to draw. They were telling them and showing them the facts. They showed the picture of Mike Pence being pulled out of the Senate to safety with his family. They showed the pictures of the rioters coming in. They showed the tweets that President Trump was making in the statements he made on January 6th. So I think it is a really compelling argument, and I think they also were sending this message of, look, this is one branch of the government, the executive branch, attacking another branch, the United States Congress, and I thought it was very effective.
And David, I thought it was interesting with Mike Pence, saying to these Republican senators who are scared to actually vote what I'd say the majority of them probably actually believe. They're scared about not winning re-election. They're scared about being heckled in an airport like Lindsey Graham was, and that seemed to be enough to send him scuttling back into the embrace of President Trump. But they essentially were saying, look, Mike Pence did this. Essentially, these Republican senators are leaving Mike Pence out to dry. I mean, Mike Pence did the right thing. He's now persona non grata among the MAGA crowd. And these senators could have sided with him and done away with Trump, but they're not.
Well, he's persona non grata with a lot of the Republican base. And Anderson, I've said this many times here and elsewhere, there's a reason Profiles in Courage was a thin volume. The natural thing for politicians to do is to do what they need to preserve themselves in office and preserve themselves in power. There's a tremendous amount of fear among these Republicans that if they oppose the president on this, if they vote to convict him and disqualify him from public office, that they will face a backlash among Republican primary voters in their states. And most of them are not going to be willing to do that. And I give a lot of credit to those who are. The history of impeachments is that very few people stray from their own party. And those who are willing to stand up, the 10 in the House, the 6 who voted as they did yesterday, and however many who vote when this thing is done for conviction, they deserve an enormous amount of credit because it is courageous. If you're not risking anything, it's not courageous. They are risking something by doing that, and yet they're doing it anyway. But the last thing that I would say about this is, whatever happens, whatever the outcome is, the fact that the nation is watching this very compelling case and history of what happened is really, really important. This is not an empty exercise. Whatever happens at the end, it is important to really understand how it happened, why it happened, and who was responsible. Senator Murkowski was asked today about the final vote, and she's thought to be one who would vote for conviction. And she said, I don't believe that Donald Trump can ever get elected president of the United States again. And part of the reason is because of what is happening in the Senate this week.
That's right. And Milgram, appreciate it. Next, a congressman and decorated Army Ranger who was ready to put his life on the line all over again for his country.
What did he just say? God, clearly the coffee's not helping.
I imagine quite confident.
Jeez.
Well, yeah.
The president was using that terminology on January 6th. It was essentially a call to action that ended in an insurrection. So
yeah, and people died.
There's no equivalence there by any stretch, and people died.
Yeah. Along, yeah.
What?
I mean, it's
President Hale.
Why did it do that? It jumped a half an hour ahead.
Why it happened? Politicians and then she's ever happened that who are. There's a tremendous many times here in El.
These were pulling back into the embrace of probably actually. David, I thought it was interesting with Mike Pence.
They also were sending this message of, look, this is. They weren't telling people to shove, and this is aren't involved in the insurrection, and we.
Patriot. Do you think that should like them? And I mean, it was fascinating. The impeachment manager spent a lot of time today
telling their final day is that said this is a political was underway to try and was absolutely that I think that the case was devastating today. Have kind of signaled different than what clearly not. I mean, let's
more votes for. They saw it was chilling, and Jeff Zeleny said
the presentation was masterful. I think Trump was trying to And it was really, and to
describe what you heard today from the House CNN legal analyst and
8 more hours to make their case, and then the president's lawyers on this building. They are troubled by the riot. They remember, what happened in those hours. But even the senators who lived through this were seeing some of these things for the first time. They did not realize what was happening in other parts of this building. But at the end of the day, there is still not a groundswell toward convicting him. As for witnesses, it looks like the House impeachment managers are largely relying on these new Syrian videotapes and the audio tapes as well. So at this point, it doesn't look like witnesses, that they still have 8 more hours to make their case, and then the president's lawyers have their turn, Anderson.
Excellent. Thanks very much. Perspective now from CNN senior political commentator and former top Obama advisor David Axelrod. Also someone with plenty of experience building prosecution cases, former New Jersey Attorney General, former federal prosecutor, and CNN legal analyst, and Milgram. And you prosecuted cases at the federal, state, local level. For you, today was, well, how would you describe what you heard today from the House managers?
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible day, and it was, I think, a painful day to sit back and to watch this and to really take in the 360 of what happened on January 6th. Up until today, I think I'd read a lot about it. I'd seen pictures of different pieces of it, but this was the first time it was really brought home all together. And what kept going through my head, Anderson, was what Fiona Hill said shortly after January 6th, which was that this was an attempted self-coup, that Donald Trump was trying to preserve his power and stay in power by any means that he possibly could. It was ultimately not successful, but as I watched that today, all I could think is just how close he came and how much he orchestrated this, really, as the House manager showed, starting in June and going through January 6th. And so I thought the presentation was masterful. I think there's a lot for us to talk about and a lot still to come, but it was also very, very painful to watch.
David, I mean, a number of the Republican senators came out of the chamber today, acknowledged what they saw with chilling, as Jeff Zeleny said, but mine may change. And Graham
to talk about and a lot still to come, but it was also very, very painful to watch.
They saw with chilling, as Jeff Zeleny said, but mine remain unchanged. Senator Lindsey Graham went on to say, quote, I think there's more votes for acquittal after today than there was yesterday. Does that make sense to you?
Clearly not. I mean, let's dismiss Lindsey Graham for what he is now. He's like a carnival barker for Donald Trump. But look, this is different than what Ann is accustomed to. This is not a judicial proceeding. And the jurors are not impartial jurors; they're partisan politicians, and 45 of them, or 44 of them, I should say, have kind of signaled which way they're going to go with their vote on whether this trial should proceed. So I don't expect that. I think that the case was devastating today for the reasons that Ann said. The description of what happened that day was absolutely riveting and troubling. But really, the case they built about what Donald Trump did to provoke that day, going back to June, and how little he did once the insurrection was underway to try and stop it, were absolutely damning when you consider what the oath of the President of the United States is, to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. All that said, this is a political proceeding, and I expect that most of these Republicans are going to stay right where they are. And the idea that Democrats, no matter how compelling their final day is, are going to switch and that you're going to get to 17, I think that's highly unlikely.
And I mean, it was fascinating. The impeachment manager spent a lot of time today praising the actions of Republicans, Mike Pence, Georgia election officials, even the Attorney General at the time, William Barr, and the roles that they played in upholding the election. It was interesting because essentially the message was, you too can do the right thing. They said Mike Pence did the right thing. He was a patriot. Do you think that made for an effective argument?
Yeah, I did think it was effective. I thought one of the things Representative Swalwell did was first he said, look, there were a lot of people at that rally who weren't involved in the insurrection, and we should separate those two groups. And then they made the effort to really separate out Mike Pence from Donald Trump and say, you know, look, this is a conservative, this is someone essentially with whom we disagree on a lot of things, but at the end of the day, we all take this oath to the United States government, as David said, to protect. And Mike Pence did the right thing when push came to shove, and Donald Trump did not. And so I thought it was effective. And one of the things I thought was really effective, Anderson, is that the House impeachment managers, they weren't telling people the conclusion to draw. They were telling them and showing them the facts. They showed the picture of Mike Pence being pulled out of the Senate to safety with his family. They showed the pictures of the rioters coming in. They showed the tweets that President Trump was making, the statements he made on January 6th. So I think it is a really compelling argument, and I think they also were sending this message of, look, this is one branch of the government, the executive branch, attacking another branch, the United States Congress, and I thought it was very effective.
David, I thought it was interesting with Mike Pence, saying to these Republican senators who are scared to.
Why isn't this working?
I'd say the majority of them probably actually believe. They're scared about not winning re-election. They're scared about being heckled in an airport like Lindsey Graham was, and that seemed to be enough to send him scuttling back into the embrace of President Trump. But they essentially were saying, look, Mike Pence did this. Essentially, these Republican senators are leaving Mike Pence out to dry. I mean, Mike Pence did the right thing. He's now persona non grata among the MAGA crowd. And these senators could have sided with him and done away with Trump, but they're not.
Well, he's persona non grata with a lot of the Republican base. And Anderson, I've said this many times here and elsewhere, there's a reason Profiles in Courage was a thin volume. The natural thing for politicians to do is to do what they need to preserve themselves in office and preserve themselves in power. There's a tremendous amount of fear among these Republicans that if they oppose the president on this, if they vote to convict him and disqualify him from public office, that they will face a backlash among Republican primary voters in their states. And most of them are not going to be willing to do that. And I give a lot of credit to those who are. The history of impeachments is that very few people stray from their own party. And those who are willing to stand up, the 10 in the House, the 6 who voted as they did yesterday, and however many who vote when this thing is done for conviction, they deserve an enormous amount of credit because it is courageous. If you're not risking anything, it's not courageous. They are risking something by doing that, and yet they're doing it anyway. But the last thing that I would say about this is, whatever happens, whatever the outcome is, the fact that the nation is watching this very compelling case and history of what happened is really, really important. This is not an empty exercise. Whatever happens at the end, it is important to really understand how it happened, why it happened, and who was responsible. Senator Murkowski was asked today about the final vote, and she's thought to be one who would vote for conviction. And she said, I don't believe that Donald Trump can ever get elected president of the United States again. And part of the reason is because of what is happening in the Senate this week.
Yeah, that's right. And Milton, appreciate it. Next, Congressman and Decorated Army Ranger, who is ready to put his life on the line all over again for his country in his country's capital, Jason Crow, joins us. And later, a former Capitol Police Chief on the remarkable bravery law enforcement showed and all the lives they saved on a day that really could have been so much worse.
They're out there, working day and night to breach your data and take what's yours. Ransomware, botnets, zero-day attacks. It's kind of scary if you think about it. Or you could not think about it at all. This is autonomous cybersecurity. This is Sentinel-1.
Guys, put 2020 in the rearview mirror, start fresh, and lose the weight with Nutrisystem for Men.
Everything's planned out. My breakfast, my snacks, my lunch, my dinner. That was the old me. This is the new me. Old me.
New me. Lose up to 18 pounds in your first month. Money back guaranteed. This is the new me after Nutrisystem. Act now and save 50% off a month of food and shakes. Go online or call 877-709-55 to save 50% on a month of food and shakes.
Tony here from CreditRepair.com. Take it to the streets to talk about credit. What's a good credit score? Go.
600.
Maybe if you're trying to pay thousands extra in interest rates. Can your credit score impact your job? Oh, no. Oh, no. Is credit repair expensive?
Isn't having bad credit expensive?
My man. Cut the confusion. Get started with a free credit evaluation at creditrepair.com.
Wow her. Don't settle for less with 1-800-Flowers.com. Call 1-800-Sandals.
I have an idea for a trade. I ain't gonna place it. Not until I'm sure. Why don't you call TD Ameritrade for a strategy gut check? What's that? You run it by an expert, you talk about the risk and potential profit and loss.
Should have used that before I hired my interior decorator.
Voila.
Oh, hi, Sue. I just saw you. How are you?
Woof Woof is here.
Woof Woof is here. He wants cheesecake from the Cheesecake Factory.
Your next celebrity cruise is ready for takeoff. With our biggest
And
air
I'm
offer
getting
ever.
feedback.
And I'm getting feedback because
I need to turn
I
off
need
one
to
of
turn
these
off one of
sounds.
these sounds.
Two of these sounds.
Wait,
Wait,
I said turn off these.
Celebrity cruises. Sail beyond.
This is not frustrating at all.
President Joe Biden, his first town hall as president. Live with Anderson Cooper. Joe Biden, presidential town hall, Tuesday night at 8:30. Only on CNN.
It was strange today watching a presentation for witnesses to what happened to them a month ago that was designed solely to remind them. After all, we remember the smallest moments from decades ago, yet somehow Senate Republicans need reminding. So recently, their place of work was overrun by people wanting to murder some of them, or any of them.
Take your fingers out.
Taking their pins off in order to hide from the crowd. One of the voices you hear in that clip is that of Colorado Congressman Jason Crow, a veteran of foreign and now domestic combat. Here he is trying to comfort his counterpart from Pennsylvania, Congresswoman Susan Wild, with the mob trying to break into the upper part of the chamber. Congressman Crow joins us now. Thanks so much for being with us. You tweeted that today was the first time you saw exactly what was on the other side of the barricaded door while you were under attack on January 6th. What was it like seeing that?
Good evening, Anderson. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it was tough to see. I'm not gonna lie here. It was traumatic to live through. It was traumatic again. Sit in my living room with my family and watch that video. I mean, we knew that there was a violent mob on the other side. We had been watching that mob descend on the Capitol. We had heard that they were chanting, heard the words of the president and the other speakers leading up to the riot. We knew what they were going to try to do. We knew that our lives were in grave danger. But seeing the number of folks, the beatings of the police officers, what they were doing to get their way in, was pretty shocking stuff. And I don't think there's any thing more clear than the decision that is before the senators at this point.
What was the moment like when you and other lawmakers, said take your pins off? I'm wondering just what was going through your mind, knowing now what was going on outside the door. You worked hard for that pin. It's something to be proud of. What was that like?
Yeah, we were just trying to figure out what we had to do to survive. That was the bottom line. We knew that we had been cut off. We were surrounded. We had barricaded the doors. There was no way out. We had many of us had called our families. I called my wife and told her I loved her, and asked her to tell the kids that I loved them as well. And as soon as I hung up the phone, I kind of immediately got back into my combat frame of mind and just started to go through a checklist of what I had to do to get through the situation. So we knew that they were looking for us, that they were going to try to assassinate us or capture us. So taking the pins off made sense. Looking for weapons, just doing anything we could to try to assess the situation. It was horrific, and I'm glad that this video and all of the stuff that was portrayed today was portrayed to the American people. The American people had to understand what happened there. We can't move on. We can't gloss this over. This was one of the darkest days in the history of our democracy.
Well, one of the things I keep coming back to are the radio calls that we heard today from the Capitol and the Metro Police. And I just want to play some, one in particular I thought was really just so disturbing, but I think it's important to hear. Let's listen.
Your copies are still taking rock, clothes, and pieces of flesh, and metal poles. The crowd is using munitions against us. They have bear spray in the crowd. Bear spray in the crowd.
Okay.
DSO, I need a ramp up here. Mr. Dicker, we lost the line. We lost the line. All PD, pull back. All PD, pull back up to the upper deck. All PD, pull back to the upper deck. Yes, sir. All PD, can back to the upper deck. Upper deck. There's a person who breaks. 10:33. Our team, 10:33. What's part of the Capitol? We have been broken. We lost the line.
God.
We've lost the line. We've lost the line. I mean, you're former Army Ranger serving both Iraq and Afghanistan. To hear that from an American policeman talking about losing the line to their fellow countrymen and women attacking them.
Yeah, Anderson, I'm going to say a word about courage. I've given a lot of thought the last couple of weeks about what courage means. It's a word that's been passed around an awful lot. We hear some people talking about political courage, people talking about exercising courage for a vote. We're not asking these senators to exercise courage, actually. This Congress makes decisions and votes all the time to send young men and women to war, some of whom don't come back. I've seen young men give their lives for this country. Those officers who threw their bodies into the breach to try to save our life. There are lots of examples of courage in this world and in this country and in this democracy. What we're asking these senators to do is not that. Right? We're asking them to make what should be a pretty clear decision to put aside politics and to fulfill their duty and their obligations. But let's not say this is some big moment of courage to stand up against constituents or risk losing your job, because it doesn't do justice to what courage really means and what some people have done to demonstrate that.
And one of the House managers today was pointing out the passengers on board the flight that was heading toward the Capitol, heading toward Washington on 9/11, who took over the plane, who attacked the terrorists in order to protect the Capitol, and that is courage as well. Congressman Crow, thank you so much tonight. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Anderson.
There's more to come on what the congressman said about courage and the images of the Capitol insurrection we saw during the second day of the trial, and the heroes who put their bodies on the line so the lawmakers and their staffs could be safe.
Sleep soundly tonight from the brand that more families trust for quality and timeless protection in ET.
I always thought it was me, that I was the reason all these diets never worked.
You made me realize that I never really learned how to eat right.
It gets results by teaching you a lot about your own eating habits.
This doesn't feel restrictive. It feels like a true lifestyle change.
Once I understood why I was making those choices, it was easy for me to change those habits, and weight loss came naturally after that.
I've been on Noom for 4 months now. I lost 27 pounds, and I feel like I got my life back.
Visit Noom.com and lose the weight for good.
It's not love that makes it all worthwhile. It's not love that can make you smile. It's not.
Send love. Order now at edible.com.
When you buy a brand new car, it loses roughly 50% of its value in the first 3 years. Not the case when you buy a great used car with shit. Of course, if you really want to waste a bunch of money on a brand new car, you can just do this. Now, technically, that's littering, so I'm going to go back and figure all that out.
Shift.com. Used cars never felt so new.
At Casper, we're delivering better sleep to homes everywhere. For the mattress so supportive and comfortable, it was awarded Best Overall Mattress by U.S. News. So, wherever home is for you, now's your chance to let great sleep be a part of it. Join nearly 2 million Casper customers and save up to 15% during the President's Day sale. In-store or at Casper.com. At Empower Retirement, we believe in opening doors. Let us help move you towards financial freedom for all of life's moments. We've been helping over 12 million customers create the future they want, and we're ready to open some doors for you. OMG. This Premier Protein Cafe Latte is beyond. Rich, creamy with that caffeine kick. Thanks, Premier. Mind blown. With 30 grams of protein, 160 calories, and just 1 gram of sugar, Premier Protein. Too good to be good.
To understand Italy, you need to look at the food, the glorious food. Come with me as I taste the flavors of the land and sea to discover what the food tells us about the past and the present.
A new CNN original series, Stanley Tucci, Searching for Italy, Sunday at 9.
Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. Turn to Rocket Mortgage, and we can help guide you through those significant decisions now, when they matter most. Here's a great idea that could work for you. A Yorgage is a fixed-rate mortgage that conforms to your needs. With a Yorgage, you control the home loan term, anywhere from 8 to 30 years. That custom term can help you finish paying off your mortgage in a time frame that works best for you. And by taking years off your loan, you'll potentially save thousands of dollars in interest over the life of your mortgage, helping you take control and achieve your financial goals. A cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage could give you the boost that you're looking for. Just remember, at Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to giving you the best mortgage experience. To learn more about a Yorgage and the many benefits of a cash-out refinance, call us today or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Bobby Wednesday, premieres Sunday night at 10.
The House impeachment manager's case today included raw, tense imagery from January 6th of Capitol Police getting crushed by the rioters, putting their bodies between the mob and those they were sworn to protect, giving lawmakers and staff those few precious moments they needed to get to safety. Officer Eugene Goodman is one hero from that day. He helped direct Senator Mitt Romney away from the rioters' path before confronting those rioters and diverting them from more lawmakers. Today, Senator Romney said he expressed his gratitude to Goodman. Romney says Goodman explained to him he was exhausted by that point and was nauseated from the amount of bear spray and tear gas that he'd inhaled. I'm joined now by retired Capitol Police Chief Kim Dine. Chief Dine, I appreciate you being with us. This has obviously, I'm sure, been a difficult day for you. You were the chief of Capitol Police from 2012 to 2016. The officers in these videos are just heroes for you. They're part of the law enforcement family. What was it like witnessing today's proceeding?
Well, Anderson, thank you for having me. Today was a tough day. It's been a tough month, but today, to see how organized, how premeditated, and how violent this attack on our democracy was, and this attack literally on our officers was truly hard to watch.
You know, to see individual officers, as we did today in these videos, not just Officer Goodman, but others, you know, confront this mob. Mobs are really terrifying when you're in the midst of them, and to be confronting them with no backup at times, I mean, that's just an extraordinary thing. And I think it's something that I hadn't seen a lot of those videos where it was just one officer trying to stop this flood of people.
You know, the United States Capitol Police is a wonderful department. It's a very diverse federal department. The women and men there, both sworn and civilian, have an immense pride in what they do every day. Their mission is clear. They literally protect the people, the place, and the process that makes us the United States. And they take that mission so incredibly seriously. Their pride, they just exude pride every day. And obviously they showed that when you see that on these videos, literally putting their lives on the line to protect the lawmakers and to protect the democratic process. It was amazing to watch.
I mean, you devoted a lot of time to thinking about security of the Capitol. Did you ever imagine a siege like this?
I don't think we did. I've been doing this for 41 years. I've worked with a lot of people that have been doing it for that time or even longer. Many of us have managed demonstrations with hundreds of thousands of people, but a lot of that is predicated on at least some agreement of the civilized interaction. Obviously, the police in this country, which number about 800 to 900,000, we're outnumbered by 320 million Americans. So there has to be some type of agreement. So we don't think about over literal assaults like we saw today. That clearly was unique. Being Americans. So there has to be some type agreement of a civilized interaction. Obviously, the police in this country, which number about 800 to 900,000, we're outnumbered by 320 million Americans. So there has to be some type of agreement. So we don't think about over literal assaults like we saw today. That clearly was unique.
You know, I mean, if it weren't for the Capitol Police, things could have been so much worse. And we really saw that in such stark reality today. You know, not just Officer Goodman, you know, telling Senator Romney, turn around, get him away from the rioters.
As bad as this was, it could have been much, much worse. The officers used a lot of ingenuity, massive amounts of bravery. They know that building and all that, the entire campus like the backs of their hands. So they knew where to go and what to do.
We have some reporting from inside the Senate chamber when impeachment manager Eric Swalwell was talking about the brutality that the police faced. He recited a Bible verse titled, "Blessed are the peacemakers." At that moment, the officer assigned to the press gallery today was told had tears in his eyes. How personal do you think today was for, not just for police officers who were involved, but really for all law enforcement?
Well, I think it was an attack on our democracy. It was an attack on that police department. Obviously, my heart also goes out to the Metropolitan Police Department, where I spent 27 years. They bravely came and helped save lives as well. So I think all of us felt literally attacked by this, and but we're proud of the actions of the women and men of those departments, for sure.
Chief Kim Dunn, I appreciate your time and your service. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Just had a lot of reports from Florida on the former president's reaction to the evidence presented today, and the video that showed just how close his former vice president came to the mob.
comfort. In the extreme, the Lincoln family of luxury SUVs.
The Dish voice remote has Google Assistant, which allows you to control all sorts of things, like the lights,
Dim the light.
and the door,
Lock the door.
and of course, your TV.
Resume moving.
Dish, tuned in to you. While the idea of free is great, the truth is, nothing comes without a cost. Even that free credit score on your phone. These apps profit from using your data and sharing your information. To them, you're the product. You deserve better. And that's why we created Extra Credit, a brand new credit solution from Credit.com. With 5 incredible credit tools, Extra Credit is designed to help you protect your identity and reach your credit goals. So don't wait. Get started for free at Credit.com.
We believe in best friends and new friends. At Del Webb, we believe in growth, movement, and the awesome power of the get-together. We believe in beautifully designed homes with innovative floor plans and living exactly how you want to live, surrounded by people who make life better. Del Webb, we believe you'll like it here.
Nomadland is now nominated for 4 Golden Awards, including Best Picture of the Year.
You are one of those lucky people who can travel anywhere.
Don't miss Nomadland, rated R, in theaters on Hulu February 19th.